Welcome to today's video, where we're going to explore 11 practical ways to deal with toxic individuals in your life using the profound wisdom of Stoicism. Whether it's at work, in your social circle, or even within your family, toxic people can often become an unavoidable part of life. These individuals can wear many masks. They might be manipulative, consistently negative, draining your emotional energy or undermining your sense of peace and well-being. However, encountering such individuals does not mean we are powerless. Quite the opposite, in fact. Toxic people have a way of destabilizing us. Their behaviors, whether it's through criticism, passive aggression, emotional manipulation, or consistent negativity, often stir up emotions in us like anger, frustration, and helplessness. These reactions are natural, but if left unchecked, they can wreak havoc on our mental and emotional health. Toxic encounters have the power to shift our focus away from what is meaningful and important in life, making us lose sight of our goals and the values we cherish. But the real question is, how do we protect ourselves from this draining force without sinking to their level? That's where Stoicism, a timeless and practical philosophy, steps in to offer us guidance. It teaches us that while we cannot change the behavior of others, we have total control over how we respond. Stoicism is all about nurturing the inner strength to remain calm and centered no matter what external chaos we face. In a world full of unpredictability and toxic behavior, this ancient wisdom can help us maintain balance, composure, and resilience. It gives us the tools to deal with difficult situations gracefully, without allowing the negativity of others to pull us into a spiral of destructive emotions. Imagine navigating the turbulent waters of life while maintaining an unshakable sense of calm, even when people around you are creating storms of negativity. Stoicism teaches that we have the power to choose how to react, how to feel, and how to think, even when faced with the most challenging of individuals. Toxic people may try to provoke us, test our patience, or push us into emotional turmoil, but when we embrace Stoic principles, we rise above their attempts. Stoicism reminds us that our peace of mind is sacred. It cannot be taken from us unless we allow it. By practicing Stoic techniques, we can shield ourselves from the emotional poison that toxic people often project. This isn't about building walls or shutting people out. It's about cultivating a sense of inner invulnerability, a calm resilience that toxic behavior simply cannot penetrate. Toxic individuals may attempt to stir up chaos, but Stoicism teaches us to face that chaos without losing our clarity or composure. We can stand firm in our virtues, grounded in our understanding of what truly matters, and respond with calm, rational thought, instead of being swept away by emotion. But let's not overlook the fact that dealing with toxic individuals can feel overwhelming at times. Their behavior might feel like a personal attack, making it hard to detach or keep our cool. However, with Stoicism, we learn to approach these moments with a level head and a steady heart. Stoic teachings don't ask us to avoid conflict or confrontation, but instead offer a way to engage with it constructively, without letting it drain us. It teaches us how to keep our emotional balance intact while still addressing the situation at hand. We can face the negativity that comes our way with strength, empathy, and a sense of purpose. Toxic people are not going to disappear from our lives overnight, but with Stoicism, we don't have to let their negativity affect us. Each encounter with a toxic individual is an opportunity to practice self-discipline, patience, and emotional resilience. Rather than reacting impulsively or allowing their behavior to bring us down, Stoicism encourages us to view these encounters as challenges that we can use to sharpen our own emotional and mental fortitude. Through this philosophy, we transform every toxic interaction into a moment of growth, a moment where we strengthen our ability to remain peaceful and grounded despite external circumstances. Stoicism gives us the tools not just to endure toxic individuals, but to thrive despite their presence in our lives. It's a way to ensure that, even when surrounded by negativity, we remain focused on our own path, our own values, and our own peace. By applying Stoic wisdom, we can face the worst of people without losing the best parts of ourselves. In today's fast-paced world, where negative interactions can often feel overwhelming, Stoicism remains a powerful antidote to the emotional turbulence caused by toxic behavior. It's a mindset that allows us to navigate difficult relationships and situations without being consumed by them, maintaining our inner harmony even in the face of adversity. So, whether you're dealing with a toxic co-worker, a manipulative friend, or even a family member who constantly brings negativity into your life, Stoicism offers you a pathway to peace. It's about reclaiming your power, focusing on what you can control and letting go of the rest. Toxic people will come and go, but your inner peace, nurtured by Stoic principles, can remain steady and untouched. And with that said, let's explore the 11 practical Stoic strategies you can use to deal with toxic individuals in your life. These timeless tools will help you face negativity with grace, preserve your mental clarity, and protect the peace that is rightfully yours. Recognizing what's within your control doesn't just end at managing your emotional responses. It also extends to how you choose to engage or disengage with toxic individuals. Once you fully grasp that their behavior is outside your sphere of influence, you can begin to make deliberate choices about your level of involvement in their negativity. Stoicism doesn't demand that you endure all circumstances passively, but rather that you engage with the world intentionally, guided by reason and virtue. When dealing with toxic people, the realization that their actions are beyond your control opens up a path towards setting healthy boundaries. By focusing on your own behavior, you can actively decide how much time and energy you're willing to invest in any given relationship or interaction. Toxic people tend to consume more energy than they deserve, precisely because their behavior triggers emotional responses in those around them. But with a Stoic mindset, you understand that it's within your power to step back, to disengage, and to protect your mental space. This isn't about building an emotional wall. It's about choosing where to place your attention and energy, which are some of the most valuable resources you have. Let's take the case of a toxic family member. Family ties can make it particularly difficult to separate yourself from someone's harmful behavior. Society often tells us that we are bound by obligation to tolerate toxic behavior in certain relationships, particularly with close family. But from a Stoic perspective, your duty isn't to endure endless negativity. Your first responsibility is to yourself, your peace, your mental clarity, and your well-being. While you may not be able to completely sever ties with a toxic family member, you can control how you engage with them. Stoicism teaches that maintaining a sense of inner balance doesn't mean avoiding all conflict, but learning how to manage it with wisdom and intention. When you accept that you can't control how someone else behaves, it becomes easier to avoid getting drawn into their emotional turbulence. If a toxic person tries to provoke you, instead of engaging in a reactionary back and forth, you can pause and ask yourself, is this something I can control? Is this worth my energy? The answer is usually no. By shifting your focus back to what is within your power, your thoughts and actions, you reclaim the ability to approach the situation calmly, without becoming a participant in the toxicity. This principle also allows you to conserve emotional energy. Toxic people tend to draw you into their chaotic world, making you feel like you need to solve their problems or fix their behavior. Stoicism frees you from this burden. You can't fix someone else. You can offer empathy, set boundaries, or even walk away from the situation. But it's important to realize that their behavior is not a reflection of you, nor is it something you can change. The only thing you can do is decide how to respond, and the best response is often one of emotional detachment paired with thoughtful action. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, though. Stoics emphasize the importance of living in accordance with virtues like wisdom, courage, and justice. When dealing with toxic individuals, you may need to tap into the courage to say no, the wisdom to know when to disengage, and the sense of justice to ensure that you're acting fairly, both to yourself and others. By honing these virtues, you strengthen your ability to deal with toxic situations without losing your moral grounding. Toxic people may try to shake your sense of justice, make you question your values, or push you toward actions that conflict with your principles. Yet, when you stay focused on what is within your control, your adherence to virtue, you can resist their influence and remain true to yourself. Moreover, recognizing the boundaries of control helps you find emotional clarity in even the most complex relationships. Toxic behavior often creates confusion, blurring the lines between what is acceptable and what is not. But when you understand that you cannot control another person's actions, you gain the clarity to recognize when a relationship is no longer serving your well-being. You start to realize that it's okay to step back from people who consistently bring negativity into your life. It's not a sign of weakness or failure. It's a powerful act of self-respect. Stoicism encourages you to create a life that reflects your values. And sometimes that means distancing yourself from those who do not align with those values. One of the most empowering aspects of this Stoic principle is the sense of freedom it provides. Often, toxic people leave us feeling trapped in arguments, in cycles of blame, or in endless attempts to please or placate them. But when you internalize that their behavior is not your responsibility, you become free to live according to your own values, free to focus on what truly matters to you, free to invest your energy in your own growth and well-being rather than in trying to manage someone else's toxicity. This freedom also extends to the way you interpret interactions with toxic individuals. Stoicism teaches that it's not external events, but our judgments of them that shape our emotional responses. Toxic behavior, when stripped of our emotional investment, becomes just another external event. Something happening out there, but not something that needs to disturb our inner calm. You can acknowledge the toxicity, address it if necessary, but ultimately remain unaffected by it. This detachment is not about avoiding the situation, but about reframing it in a way that no longer gives the toxic individual control over your emotions. In practice, this Stoic principle can be applied to everyday situations. If a colleague tries to undermine your work, or a friend consistently drains you with their negativity, instead of reacting emotionally, you remind yourself that their actions are beyond your control. You then focus on what you can control: your effort, your boundaries, and your inner state of mind. You choose not to let their actions disturb your peace because you understand that their negativity says more about them than it does about you. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to dealing with toxic individuals begins with a deep understanding of where your control ends and the control of others begins. Toxic people may continue to behave as they do, but their behavior loses its sting when you realize that you don't need to change them in order to protect your peace. You only need to master yourself, and that mastery is something no toxic person can ever take away from you. Chapter 2 is all about practicing emotional detachment, a fundamental aspect of Stoicism. Emotional detachment does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. Rather, it is about cultivating an inner sense of calm and resilience so that external events, including the actions of toxic individuals, do not disturb your emotional equilibrium. In Stoic philosophy, this concept is closely tied to the idea of apatheia, which is the ability to remain undisturbed by the highs and lows of life, including the challenges posed by difficult people. Toxic individuals often thrive on eliciting emotional reactions from others. Whether they are being manipulative, condescending, or outright antagonistic, their behavior is often designed to provoke a response. They may use guilt, anger, or fear as tools to pull you into their web of negativity. The Stoic approach, however, is to recognize this dynamic and consciously choose not to engage emotionally. By practicing emotional detachment, you are protecting your inner peace from being influenced by the chaos and drama toxic people bring into your life. At its core, emotional detachment is about taking a step back from the situation and observing it with a sense of calm objectivity. The Stoics believed that emotions are not caused by external events themselves, but by the judgments we make about those events. When someone behaves in a toxic manner, your initial reaction might be one of frustration, anger, or hurt. But if you pause for a moment and question the judgments that led to those feelings, you might realize that their behavior is not about you. It's a reflection of their own internal struggles, insecurities, or frustrations. Let's explore this idea further. Imagine you have a friend who constantly criticizes your decisions. No matter what you do, they always find a way to undermine your confidence or make you feel inadequate. Your initial emotional response might be anger or defensiveness. But a Stoic would advise you to stop and ask yourself, why am I allowing their words to affect me in this way? If you practice emotional detachment, you begin to see their behavior for what it really is, an expression of their own negative worldview. Their criticism is not a reflection of your worth or abilities, but of their own dissatisfaction. By detaching emotionally, you can listen to their words without taking them personally. One of the key techniques for practicing emotional detachment in Stoicism is through premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This involves mentally preparing yourself for the worst-case scenario in any given situation, including encounters with toxic individuals. By imagining what they might say or do, you equip yourself to respond with calmness and composure when those behaviors inevitably arise. Instead of being caught off guard by their negativity, you are mentally prepared and can choose not to react emotionally. You have already accepted that they may act in a certain way, and you've decided in advance that it won't disturb your peace. Another important aspect of emotional detachment is understanding the role of perception. The Stoics believed that it's not the external event itself that causes us distress, but how we perceive it. Toxic people may act in ways that are objectively rude or hurtful, but we have the power to choose how we interpret their behavior. When you practice emotional detachment, you shift your perception from seeing their behavior as a personal attack to viewing it as an unfortunate reality of human nature. People are flawed, and their flaws often manifest in toxic behavior. But when you detach emotionally, you see this as a neutral fact of life, rather than something that needs to disrupt your inner tranquility. Let's take a more challenging example, dealing with a toxic boss. A boss who consistently undermines your efforts, criticizes you in front of others, or plays favorites can create a toxic work environment. Your natural response might be one of anxiety, stress, or resentment. However, the Stoic practice of emotional detachment helps you create a mental barrier between their toxic behavior and your internal peace. Instead of internalizing their criticism or feeling personally attacked, you can view their behavior as a reflection of their own insecurities or management style. This shift in perception allows you to navigate the situation with clarity and calm, making it easier to deal with the challenges they present, without allowing their negativity to dominate your thoughts and emotions. Another powerful tool for practicing emotional detachment is self-reflection. The Stoics placed great emphasis on the practice of daily reflection, where one examines their thoughts, emotions, and actions in relation to the events of the day. After an interaction with a toxic individual, take some time to reflect on how you responded. Did you allow their negativity to affect your mood? Did you react emotionally, or were you able to maintain your composure? By reflecting on these questions, you can begin to identify patterns in your responses and work toward greater emotional detachment. Over time, this practice will help you build the resilience needed to face toxic individuals without being drawn into their emotional traps. It's also important to remember that emotional detachment does not mean apathy or avoidance. Stoics do not advocate for avoiding difficult situations or people. Instead, they encourage us to face these challenges head-on, but with a sense of emotional clarity and purpose. Detaching emotionally allows you to engage with toxic individuals without becoming entangled in their drama. You can still address issues, set boundaries, and stand up for yourself, but you do so from a place of calm reason rather than reactive emotion. One common misconception about emotional detachment is that it leads to a lack of empathy or caring. However, in Stoicism, emotional detachment actually enhances your ability to approach situations with empathy. By not being emotionally reactive, you can better understand the root causes of someone's toxic behavior. Often, toxic individuals are acting out of their own pain, insecurity, or frustration. When you detach emotionally, you can see this more clearly and respond with compassion rather than anger or resentment. This doesn't mean you excuse their behavior, but it does mean you are less likely to escalate the situation with an emotional response. Let's revisit the example of the toxic coworker. Instead of reacting emotionally to their negativity, you practice emotional detachment and realize that their behavior is likely a reflection of their own dissatisfaction or stress. With this understanding, you can approach them with empathy, offering support if appropriate, or simply choosing to disengage from their negativity without letting it affect you. This approach not only preserves your inner peace, but also allows you to maintain a level of professionalism and kindness, even in difficult circumstances. Finally, emotional detachment gives you the space to focus on what truly matters. Toxic people often consume a disproportionate amount of our mental and emotional energy. We ruminate on their behavior, replay conversations in our heads, and wonder how we could have responded differently. But with Stoic emotional detachment, you free yourself from this mental burden. You no longer waste energy on things you cannot control, and instead you channel that energy into your own growth, goals, and well-being. You become less reactive to the behavior of others and more focused on living according to your own values. In the end, practicing emotional detachment is about reclaiming your power. Toxic individuals may continue to behave in harmful ways, but their ability to affect your emotions is significantly reduced. You have the power to choose how you respond, and with emotional detachment, you can respond with calmness, clarity, and purpose, no matter how difficult the situation may be. Chapter 3 dives into one of the most important yet often misunderstood aspects of Stoicism when dealing with toxic people: setting boundaries. Stoicism emphasizes rationality, calmness, and emotional detachment, but it also recognizes the importance of maintaining one's dignity and well-being. Setting boundaries is a key part of this, and the Stoic way of doing so involves assertiveness without aggression and clarity without unnecessary conflict. When toxic individuals invade your personal space, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical, they often do so by testing the limits of what they can get away with. Their behavior may range from subtle manipulation to outright disrespect, and if left unchecked, their toxicity can cause significant harm to your peace of mind. The Stoic approach to this issue is rooted in the idea of assertiveness, which is the ability to communicate your needs, limits, and expectations clearly without allowing anger or frustration to take over. The distinction between assertiveness and aggression is crucial here. Stoicism teaches that we should never allow ourselves to be controlled by negative emotions such as anger, resentment, or frustration. These emotions can cloud our judgment and escalate conflicts unnecessarily. Aggressive responses often stem from emotional reactions, and they rarely lead to constructive outcomes. Assertiveness, on the other hand, is rooted in reason. It's about standing firm in your values and calmly expressing your boundaries, even in the face of toxicity. Let's break this down further. Imagine you have a friend who constantly asks for favors but never reciprocates. This friend might be draining your time and energy without any regard for your own needs. If you're not assertive, you might find yourself agreeing to their demands out of guilt, fear of conflict, or simply because it's easier than saying no. However, in doing so, you allow their toxic behavior to continue unchecked, and over time, it erodes your sense of self-worth and drains your emotional resources. The Stoic approach to this situation is to calmly but firmly set boundaries. You might say, "I value our friendship, but I need you to understand that I also have my own responsibilities and limits. I'm not always available to help out, and I hope you can respect that." This kind of response is assertive, but not aggressive. It clearly communicates your needs without resorting to anger or frustration. And it invites the other person to respect your boundaries. If they don't, then you know the relationship may need to be reevaluated. One of the key reasons Stoics advocate for assertiveness over aggression is that aggression often leads to escalation. Toxic individuals may respond to aggression with more toxicity, creating a cycle of conflict that ultimately does more harm than good. Assertiveness, however, diffuses the situation by focusing on clarity and respect. You are not attacking the person, but rather setting a clear boundary for yourself. This allows you to maintain your dignity while still protecting your well-being. Setting boundaries in a Stoic way also requires understanding the importance of self-respect. Toxic individuals often violate boundaries because they sense that the person they are dealing with may not fully respect themselves or their own needs. Stoicism teaches us that self-respect is non-negotiable. You are responsible for your own well-being, and part of that responsibility involves ensuring that others respect your time, energy, and emotional space. This doesn't mean being rude or distant. It means valuing yourself enough to communicate your needs and protect your peace. For example, in a work setting, you might encounter a colleague or supervisor who consistently oversteps professional boundaries, expecting you to take on additional tasks without consideration for your workload. If you don't set boundaries, you may find yourself overwhelmed, stressed, and eventually resentful. The Stoic response would be to calmly address the situation, perhaps by saying something like, "I want to help, but I need to be clear about my current capacity. I can take on this task, but only if we can adjust the timeline for my other responsibilities." Again, this is assertive communication. It acknowledges the request, but it also sets a firm boundary about what you are able to do without sacrificing your own well-being. The beauty of Stoic assertiveness is that it fosters respect in relationships. Toxic people often test boundaries to see how far they can go, but when you respond with clear and calm assertiveness, you communicate that you value yourself enough not to tolerate disrespect or manipulation. This can sometimes shift the dynamic, as the toxic individual may realize that their behavior will no longer go unchecked. In some cases, they may adjust their behavior accordingly. In other cases, they may not, and that's when you must decide whether continuing the relationship is worth the toll it takes on your well-being. Setting boundaries also involves recognizing when it's time to step away. While Stoicism encourages patience and compassion, it also teaches that we should not waste our time and energy on people or situations that are fundamentally harmful to our peace. Sometimes, no amount of boundary setting will change a toxic individual's behavior, and the healthiest option may be to distance yourself. This can be difficult, especially when the toxic person is someone close to you, but Stoicism reminds us that our first responsibility is to ourselves and our own inner tranquility. Let's consider a personal example. A family member who consistently crosses emotional boundaries, perhaps by making hurtful comments or bringing up sensitive topics to provoke you. You may have tried setting boundaries in the past, but they continue to behave in a way that undermines your peace of mind. In this case, the Stoic approach would be to reaffirm your boundaries, but also to accept that you cannot change their behavior. You might decide to limit your interactions with them, not out of anger, but out of a sense of self-preservation. As Marcus Aurelius said, The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. By choosing not to engage with their toxicity, you are protecting your peace and maintaining your dignity. It's also important to recognize that setting boundaries is not a one-time event. Toxic individuals may continue to test your limits over time, and you may need to reassert your boundaries more than once. This can be frustrating, but Stoicism teaches us to be patient and persistent in our pursuit of peace. Each time you set a boundary, you are reinforcing your commitment to your own well-being. Over time, you will find that the act of setting boundaries becomes easier, and toxic individuals will either respect your limits or distance themselves. In setting boundaries, it's also helpful to remember that Stoicism emphasizes the importance of virtues like wisdom, courage, and justice. Wisdom allows you to see clearly when a boundary is needed. Courage gives you the strength to assert that boundary, even when it's uncomfortable. And justice ensures that your actions are fair to both yourself and others. By aligning your boundary setting with these virtues, you can navigate toxic situations with integrity, ensuring that you remain true to yourself while also fostering healthier, more respectful relationships. Ultimately, setting boundaries the Stoic way is about striking a balance between firmness and kindness. You protect yourself without allowing negative emotions to take control, and you communicate your needs with clarity and calm. Toxic individuals may continue to test your limits, but with Stoic assertiveness, you can maintain your peace while standing up for yourself with confidence and grace. Chapter 4 delves into the power of reframing negative interactions, a Stoic tool that can transform how we experience toxic behavior. The idea of reframing is central to Stoic philosophy. It's the practice of changing our perception of events and interpreting them in a way that allows us to remain calm, focused, and at peace. When it comes to dealing with toxic individuals, this technique is invaluable. It enables us to view even the most challenging interactions as opportunities for personal growth, rather than as sources of frustration or stress. The Stoics believed that external events, including the behavior of others, are not inherently good or bad. What determines whether something disturbs us or not is the meaning we attach to it. In this way, Stoicism teaches us that toxic behavior only has the power to upset us if we allow it to. By reframing the situation, we can shift our mindset from seeing toxic behavior as a threat to our peace to viewing it as an opportunity to practice virtues like patience, wisdom, and self-control. Consider a scenario in which a colleague repeatedly undermines you at work. Perhaps they take credit for your ideas, spread rumors, or constantly criticize your efforts. The natural reaction might be to feel angry, betrayed, or defensive. These feelings arise because we interpret their behavior as an attack on our worth or competence. However, the Stoic approach is to reframe this interaction. Instead of seeing it as a personal affront, you can choose to see it as an opportunity to develop your own emotional resilience. Their behavior, unpleasant as it may be, becomes a test, one that challenges you to maintain your calm and dignity in the face of adversity. Reframing is not about denying the reality of the situation or pretending that toxic behavior is acceptable. Instead, it's about taking control of how you interpret the situation and deciding how much power you will allow it to have over you. Toxic people may act in ways that are intended to provoke you, but by reframing their actions, you remove their ability to affect your emotional state. You take ownership of the narrative and, in doing so, protect your inner peace. Another important aspect of reframing is recognizing that toxic individuals are often driven by their own unresolved issues. While their behavior may be directed at you, it's rarely about you. People who consistently act in toxic ways are usually projecting their own insecurities, fears, or frustrations onto others. When you reframe their behavior in this light, it becomes easier to detach emotionally. Instead of taking their actions personally, you can view them as a reflection of the struggles they are facing internally. This shift in perspective can help you feel more compassion toward them while simultaneously protecting yourself from the emotional impact of their toxicity. Let's take the example of a toxic family member who frequently makes critical or hurtful remarks. Without reframing, these comments can easily feel like personal attacks, leaving you frustrated, hurt, or defensive. However, if you reframe the situation, you might recognize that their behavior stems from their own unresolved issues. Perhaps they feel insecure about their own life choices or are struggling with feelings of inadequacy. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it allows you to see that their toxicity is a symptom of their own inner turmoil, not a reflection of your worth. When you understand this, their words lose much of their power to hurt you. Stoicism encourages us to use every challenge as an opportunity for growth. Toxic individuals, with their difficult behavior, provide countless opportunities to practice this. Reframing allows you to see each negative interaction as a moment to strengthen your emotional resilience, your patience, and your wisdom. Rather than allowing toxic people to drain your energy, you can view your interactions with them as exercises in self-mastery. Every time you encounter toxic behavior and choose not to let it disturb your peace, you are building your stoic muscles. You are becoming stronger, more centered, and more in control of your own mind. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the power of perception in his meditations. He advised himself to view obstacles not as hindrances, but as opportunities. He famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the very thing that seems to block your progress, whether it's a toxic person or a difficult situation, can actually become the path to growth if you approach it with the right mindset. Let's apply this to an everyday scenario. Imagine you have a boss who is constantly micromanaging you, criticizing your work, and making unreasonable demands. Without reframing, this situation could lead to feelings of stress, resentment, and burnout. You might feel like you are constantly walking on eggshells, waiting for the next criticism to come. However, if you reframe the situation, you can start to see it as an opportunity to practice patience and professionalism. Instead of reacting emotionally to every critical comment, you view their behavior as a challenge to remain calm and focused on your own work. You take their criticism not as a personal attack, but as an opportunity to refine your skills and improve your resilience in a high-pressure environment. Reframing also helps you maintain your sense of agency. Toxic individuals often try to make you feel powerless, as though you are at the mercy of their behavior. But Stoicism teaches that we always have control over how we respond. Reframing allows you to take back that control. By changing how you interpret their actions, you shift the power dynamic in your favor. Toxic people may continue to behave poorly, but they can no longer dictate how you feel or how you react. You remain grounded in your own values and virtues, refusing to be swayed by their negativity. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice and conscious effort, especially in the face of persistent toxic behavior. But with time, reframing becomes second nature. You start to see every negative interaction as an opportunity to practice Stoic principles, and this, in turn, strengthens your ability to remain calm and composed in all aspects of your life. It's also worth noting that reframing doesn't mean tolerating or excusing toxic behavior. Stoicism doesn't ask you to passively accept mistreatment. Instead, it encourages you to take a rational, measured approach. If someone's behavior is consistently harmful, you can still set boundaries or distance yourself from them. But by reframing the situation, you are ensuring that even if you need to take action, you do so from a place of calm, not from a reactive emotional state. You are in control of the situation rather than letting the situation control you. In the end, reframing toxic interactions is about reclaiming your mental and emotional power. Toxic people want to disrupt your peace, but Stoicism gives you the tools to see their behavior differently. By choosing how to perceive their actions, you are no longer a victim of their negativity. Instead, you are an active participant in your own mental and emotional well-being. Each negative interaction becomes a stepping stone toward greater inner strength, resilience, and peace. Chapter 5 focuses on a key strategy in the Stoic approach to toxic individuals: limiting your exposure to their negativity. While Stoicism teaches us to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity, it also emphasizes the importance of preserving our inner peace. One of the most effective ways to maintain that peace, especially when dealing with consistently toxic people, is by minimizing your interactions with them. This doesn't mean avoiding conflict or running from difficult situations, but rather making intentional choices about who you allow into your personal space and how much of their negativity you're willing to tolerate. In life, it's impossible to avoid all toxic individuals, whether it's at work, within your family, or in your social circle. There will always be people whose behavior is draining, manipulative, or emotionally harmful. However, while you may not be able to control their presence in your life, you do have control over how often and in what capacity you engage with them. Stoicism encourages us to create environments that support our growth and well-being, and that often means limiting the time and energy we invest in toxic relationships. The first step in limiting your exposure to toxic individuals is recognizing that it's not only acceptable, but necessary for your mental and emotional health. Stoicism is not about subjecting yourself to unnecessary hardship or tolerating behavior that undermines your peace. It's about exercising wisdom and discernment in your relationships, ensuring that you are surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support your journey toward virtue. Toxic individuals, by contrast, can disrupt this journey, distracting you from what truly matters and pulling you into emotional turmoil. Limiting your exposure is a way of protecting your peace and maintaining focus on your own growth. Let's explore a practical example. Imagine you have a colleague who is consistently negative, always finding something to complain about, gossiping about others, and creating an atmosphere of tension and distrust. Every time you interact with them, you leave feeling drained and emotionally exhausted. In this situation, the Stoic approach would be to limit your exposure to this person as much as possible. You might reduce the amount of time you spend engaging in non-essential conversations with them, avoid participating in gossip or negativity, and focus on your own work without being pulled into their drama. By setting these boundaries, you're not avoiding the person entirely, but you are intentionally choosing how and when you engage with them, ensuring that their negativity doesn't consume your mental and emotional energy. Another important aspect of limiting exposure is recognizing that not all relationships are meant to last forever. Stoicism teaches us to value relationships that are built on mutual respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to virtue. Toxic relationships, by contrast, are often based on manipulation, control, or emotional dependency. While it may be difficult to step back from relationships that have become toxic, especially if there is a long history or deep emotional connection, Stoicism encourages us to prioritize our inner peace over maintaining relationships that are harmful. This can be particularly challenging when the toxic individual is a close friend or family member. In these cases, limiting exposure doesn't necessarily mean cutting the person out of your life completely, but rather creating healthy boundaries that protect your well-being. For example, if a family member is consistently critical or emotionally abusive, you might choose to limit your interactions with them to certain settings or time frames. You might visit them less frequently or only engage in conversations that are neutral and non-confrontational. In this way, you are still maintaining the relationship, but on your own terms, ensuring that their toxicity doesn't have a lasting impact on your emotional state. Stoicism also teaches us that we have limited time and energy, and how we choose to spend those resources is crucial to our overall well-being. Toxic individuals tend to consume more than their fair share of our attention and emotional energy, leaving us depleted and unable to focus on what truly matters in life. By limiting your exposure to toxic people, you free up more time and energy to invest in positive, meaningful relationships and pursuits that align with your values and goals. One of the key principles of Stoicism is the idea of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or living in accordance with nature. Toxic individuals, by their very nature, disrupt this process by pulling you away from the pursuit of virtue and into cycles of negativity and conflict. Limiting your exposure to them is a way of realigning with your purpose, focusing on what contributes to your personal growth, inner peace, and well-being. In this sense, reducing your interactions with toxic people isn't an act of avoidance. It's a conscious decision to prioritize your own flourishing over external negativity. It's also important to recognize that limiting exposure doesn't mean harboring resentment or bitterness toward toxic individuals. Stoicism teaches us to approach all people, even those who harm us, with a sense of compassion and understanding. Toxic people often act out of their own pain, insecurity, or lack of self-awareness, and while this doesn't excuse their behavior, it helps us to understand that their toxicity is a reflection of their own struggles. When you limit your exposure to them, you are doing so out of a sense of self-respect and preservation, not out of hatred or malice. You can still wish them well, but from a distance that protects your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." This quote reminds us that we often give too much weight to the thoughts and behaviors of others, especially those who bring negativity into our lives. Limiting your exposure to toxic individuals is an act of self-love and self-care. It's about recognizing that your peace of mind is more important than pleasing others or trying to change them. You are responsible for your own well-being, and part of that responsibility involves making choices that protect your emotional and mental health. In some cases, limiting exposure may involve making difficult decisions, such as ending a friendship or leaving a toxic work environment. While these decisions can be challenging, Stoicism teaches us that peace and virtue should always come first. Toxic individuals who refuse to respect your boundaries or who consistently undermine your peace are not contributing to your growth. In these situations, the Stoic approach is to distance yourself with grace and dignity, knowing that your well-being is more important than maintaining a relationship that harms you. Finally, limiting your exposure to toxic individuals allows you to cultivate more positive, meaningful relationships. When you remove toxic influences from your life, you create space for relationships that are supportive, encouraging, and aligned with your values. You surround yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, and contribute to your well-being. This is the ultimate goal of Stoicism: to live a life of virtue surrounded by those who support your journey toward peace, wisdom, and personal growth. Limiting your exposure to toxic individuals is not just a passive act of stepping back, it's an active choice rooted in self-respect and a commitment to personal growth. As you continue to limit interactions with those who consistently drain your emotional energy or disrupt your peace, you create space in your life for more meaningful, positive experiences. This space allows for personal reflection, emotional healing, and the cultivation of relationships that align with your values and support your journey toward becoming the best version of yourself. When you begin to limit your exposure to toxic people, it's essential to recognize that this is not a sign of weakness or avoidance. It's an act of strength and self-preservation. In Stoicism, the ability to set boundaries and disengage from harmful influences is seen as a form of wisdom. It's about recognizing the limits of what you can control and choosing to invest your time and energy in areas that contribute to your flourishing rather than detracting from it. One of the most significant benefits of limiting your exposure to toxic individuals is the mental clarity that comes with it. Toxic people often create confusion, emotional turbulence, and mental exhaustion, which can cloud your judgment and make it difficult to stay focused on your personal goals. By minimizing your interactions with them, you clear the mental fog that their negativity creates. This clarity enables you to think more rationally and make decisions that are aligned with your long-term well-being, rather than reacting impulsively to the emotional chaos that toxic individuals often bring. Consider how much more productive and peaceful your life can become when you're no longer constantly dealing with the drama, manipulation, or negativity of toxic individuals. By limiting your exposure, you free up emotional and mental resources that can be redirected toward activities and relationships that are truly fulfilling. This shift in focus allows you to invest more time in pursuing your passions, deepening your relationships with people who support you, and achieving the goals that matter most to you. Toxic people can take up so much space in our lives that we forget what it's like to live without their influence. When you reclaim that space, you rediscover a sense of freedom and autonomy that is essential to living a virtuous, fulfilling life. Another important aspect of limiting exposure is understanding that this process is ongoing. Toxic individuals may try to re-enter your life, test your boundaries, or continue to engage with you in ways that are harmful. Stoicism teaches us to remain vigilant and committed to our boundaries, understanding that maintaining them requires consistent effort. Toxic people often push back when they realize that their influence over you is diminishing, but by standing firm in your decision to limit exposure, you reaffirm your commitment to your own peace and well-being. It's also important to recognize that limiting exposure doesn't always mean cutting people off completely. In some cases, especially with family members or co-workers, you may need to continue interacting with toxic individuals on a limited basis. In these situations, the Stoic approach involves creating intentional boundaries around when, where, and how you engage with them. You might decide to limit interactions to specific settings, such as family gatherings or work-related tasks, while avoiding unnecessary contact in more personal or casual situations. This allows you to maintain a level of detachment and control over the interaction, ensuring that their toxicity doesn't spill over into other areas of your life. In addition to setting physical and emotional boundaries, Stoicism encourages us to practice mental boundaries as well. Toxic individuals often try to invade your mental space by making you doubt yourself, question your decisions, or feel responsible for their emotions. Limiting exposure to their negativity involves not only reducing physical contact, but also protecting your mind from their influence. This means recognizing when you're ruminating on their behavior or allowing their words to affect your self-perception, and consciously choosing to redirect your thoughts. By practicing mental boundaries, you strengthen your ability to remain unaffected by their attempts to manipulate or control your emotions. Let's consider an example of limiting exposure in a family context. Imagine you have a sibling who is consistently negative, critical, and emotionally manipulative. While you may not be able to avoid them completely, especially during family gatherings or holidays, you can still limit your exposure by choosing when and how you engage with them. You might decide to keep conversations short and neutral, avoiding topics that tend to lead to conflict or negativity. You might also choose to leave the gathering earlier or step away for breaks when the conversation becomes too draining. These small but intentional choices help you protect your emotional well-being while still maintaining a presence in family dynamics. In a professional context, limiting exposure might involve setting clear boundaries with a toxic co-worker or boss. For example, if you have a boss who constantly criticizes your work or undermines your efforts, you might limit exposure by keeping communication focused on work-related tasks and avoiding personal or casual interactions. You could also set boundaries around when and how you're available for discussions, ensuring that you're not constantly subjected to their negativity outside of working hours. By limiting exposure in this way, you maintain professionalism while also protecting your mental and emotional health. Limiting exposure also has the added benefit of encouraging toxic individuals to change their behavior. When they realize that their usual tactics no longer affect you or that they no longer have the same access to your time and energy, they may begin to reflect on their actions. While this is not guaranteed, and it's important not to rely on this as a strategy for change, it can sometimes lead to more positive interactions. At the very least, it signals to the toxic individual that their behavior will no longer be tolerated or engaged with, which can serve as a deterrent to future negativity. Ultimately, limiting your exposure to toxic individuals is about reclaiming your life. Toxic people often take up far more space than they deserve, draining your energy, clouding your judgment, and distracting you from your goals. Stoicism teaches that peace and virtue are far more valuable than engaging with negativity. By limiting your exposure, you make a conscious choice to protect your inner tranquility, focus on your personal growth, and surround yourself with people and situations that support your well-being. This is not always an easy process. It may involve difficult conversations, uncomfortable decisions, and a period of adjustment as you navigate new boundaries. But the rewards are immense. When you free yourself from the influence of toxic individuals, you gain clarity, strength, and a renewed sense of purpose. You create space for positivity, growth, and fulfillment, and you take back control of your emotional and mental landscape. In the end, limiting exposure to toxic individuals is one of the most powerful ways to maintain your peace and integrity. It's a practice rooted in self-respect, wisdom, and the Stoic commitment to living a life that is guided by reason and virtue, rather than by the negativity of others. By choosing to limit your exposure, you affirm your own worth and prioritize your journey toward inner peace, ensuring that toxic individuals no longer have the power to disrupt your well-being. Chapter 6 centers on an essential Stoic principle when dealing with toxic individuals: don't take it personally. This concept is one of the most powerful tools you can use to protect your inner peace when faced with negativity. The Stoics taught that much of the suffering we experience in life comes not from the actions of others, but from the meaning we attach to those actions. When we take things personally, we internalize someone else's toxic behavior, allowing it to affect our emotional state and distort our sense of self-worth. By learning not to take things personally, we reclaim our power and protect ourselves from unnecessary emotional distress. Toxic individuals often project their own insecurities, fears, and frustrations onto others. Their actions are rarely about you, even if they are directed at you. When someone behaves in a toxic or harmful way, it's usually a reflection of their internal struggles, not a reflection of your worth or abilities. This understanding is key to not taking their behavior personally. In Stoicism, we are reminded that we cannot control what others say or do, but we can control how we choose to interpret and respond to their actions. Imagine, for instance, that a co-worker consistently criticizes your work in front of others, making you feel embarrassed or inadequate. Your initial reaction might be to take this personally, thinking that their comments are a direct reflection of your skills or competence. However, the Stoic approach would encourage you to pause and consider the source of their behavior. Are they criticizing you because they are genuinely trying to help you improve, or are they projecting their own insecurities onto you? Often, toxic individuals criticize others because they feel inadequate themselves, and by tearing others down, they attempt to elevate their own sense of worth. When you realize this, their words lose much of their power, and you can choose not to internalize their negativity. One of the most famous Stoic teachings on this subject comes from Epictetus, who said, "When someone criticizes you, remember, he is not criticizing you, but his own notion of you. He doesn't know who you really are. He is guessing from the point of view of what he has seen." This insight reminds us that toxic behavior is often based on incomplete or inaccurate perceptions. People form judgments based on their own experiences, biases, and insecurities, and these judgments are rarely a true reflection of who we are. When someone behaves in a toxic way, it's important to recognize that their actions are more about them than about you. Another powerful aspect of not taking things personally is the freedom it brings. When you stop internalizing the behavior of toxic individuals, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster that their actions can create. You are no longer at the mercy of their mood swings, criticisms, or attempts to manipulate you. Instead, you remain grounded in your own sense of self-worth, unaffected by their attempts to bring you down. This sense of detachment allows you to approach toxic situations with calm and clarity, rather than being swept up in emotional reactions. Let's take an example from a family context. Imagine you have a relative who consistently makes passive-aggressive comments about your life choices. Perhaps they criticize your career, your relationships, or your lifestyle in subtle but hurtful ways. If you take these comments personally, you might feel defensive, hurt, or even angry. You might start questioning your own decisions or feel the need to justify yourself to them. However, the Stoic approach would encourage you to recognize that their comments are not about you. They are about their own values, expectations, and unresolved issues. By choosing not to take their behavior personally, you can let go of the need to defend yourself and instead remain confident in your own path. Not taking things personally also allows you to maintain your composure in the face of toxic behavior. Toxic individuals often try to provoke emotional reactions from others, whether it's through criticism, manipulation, or hostility. They thrive on creating drama and conflict, but when you refuse to take their behavior personally, you deny them the emotional response they seek. You remain calm, centered, and in control of your own emotions. This not only protects your peace, but also diffuses the situation, as toxic people often lose interest when they realize that their tactics are not working. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about the importance of keeping others' actions in perspective. He encouraged himself and others to remember that what other people say and do is outside of our control, and therefore should not be a source of distress. He advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This teaching is especially relevant when dealing with toxic individuals. By recognizing that their behavior is outside your control, you can choose not to let it disturb your inner calm. Moreover, not taking things personally fosters a greater sense of compassion. When you understand that toxic behavior is often rooted in the other person's own pain, insecurity, or ignorance, you can approach the situation with empathy rather than anger or resentment. This doesn't mean excusing or tolerating harmful behavior, but it does mean recognizing that the person who is lashing out is likely struggling with their own issues. This perspective allows you to detach emotionally from their toxicity while still maintaining a sense of compassion for their struggles. For instance, if a friend continually makes hurtful remarks or tries to belittle you, instead of responding with anger or cutting them off immediately, you might take a moment to consider what might be driving their behavior. Are they going through a difficult time? Are they insecure in some way? By approaching the situation with this kind of understanding, you can respond with calmness, set boundaries if necessary, and decide whether the friendship is worth maintaining, all without letting their behavior affect your sense of self. It's also important to recognize that not taking things personally doesn't mean being passive or allowing people to treat you poorly. Stoicism encourages us to take action when necessary, but from a place of rational thought, not emotional reaction. If someone is consistently toxic, you can still set boundaries, distance yourself, or address the situation directly. However, when you don't take their behavior personally, you do so from a place of strength and self-assurance, rather than from a place of emotional hurt or defensiveness. This allows you to act with clarity and intention rather than being reactive or impulsive. In summary, the Stoic practice of not taking things personally is a powerful way to protect your inner peace and maintain your emotional balance in the face of toxic behavior. By recognizing that toxic individuals are often projecting their own issues onto you, and by refusing to internalize their negativity, you free yourself from their influence. You remain grounded in your own sense of self-worth, unaffected by their attempts to provoke or manipulate you. This detachment not only protects your peace, but also empowers you to respond to toxic behavior with calmness, clarity, and compassion, rather than being drawn into conflict or emotional distress. In the end, not taking things personally allows you to reclaim your emotional power and live according to your own values, rather than being swayed by the negativity of others. Chapter 7 explores one of the most valuable, yet often underestimated skills in Stoicism: mastering the art of silence when dealing with toxic individuals. Toxic people often try to pull you into their negativity by provoking emotional reactions, drawing you into arguments, or overwhelming you with their drama. The Stoic approach is to resist the urge to respond impulsively and instead embrace the power of silence. Silence, in this context, is not weakness or submission. It is a deliberate and controlled choice to preserve your peace and maintain your dignity. It allows you to disengage from the toxic behavior without feeding into it. The Stoics valued silence for its ability to protect one's inner tranquility. When you remain silent in the face of toxicity, you refuse to give the other person power over your emotions. Toxic individuals often thrive on creating conflict. They may provoke you in hopes of starting a fight or gaining control over the situation. By choosing silence, you deny them the satisfaction of controlling your emotional state. Instead, you remain in control of yourself, and that in itself is a powerful stance. Imagine a situation where a toxic coworker continually tries to undermine you during meetings by making snide comments or interrupting you. Your natural response might be to defend yourself, argue back, or prove them wrong. However, this is exactly what they want: to draw you into a confrontation to make you feel defensive or flustered. The Stoic response instead would be to remain silent. By choosing not to engage, you demonstrate that their attempts to provoke you have no impact. You maintain your composure and focus on what truly matters: the work, the task at hand, or the larger picture. Silence here is not a retreat, but a strategic choice to disengage from unnecessary conflict. One of the reasons silence is so effective is that it creates a space for reflection. When someone says or does something toxic, your first instinct might be to react quickly and emotionally. But Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in the ability to pause and reflect before responding. By remaining silent, you give yourself the time to process the situation rationally, rather than reacting impulsively. This moment of reflection allows you to decide whether a response is even necessary, and if it is, what kind of response would be most productive and aligned with your values. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often spoke about the importance of not reacting to insults or provocations. He said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these.'" This quote highlights the Stoic principle of detachment from others' opinions and insults. By mastering the art of silence, you are practicing this detachment. You recognize that the toxic person's words or actions are not a reflection of your worth, and therefore do not require an immediate response. Silence also has the power to disarm toxic individuals. When someone is trying to provoke you, they often expect an emotional reaction. When you remain silent instead, it can be unsettling for them. Toxic people thrive on drama, and silence disrupts their ability to create it. They may continue to try to provoke you, but the lack of response often causes them to lose momentum. Without the fuel of your emotional reaction, their toxic behavior may begin to lose its power. In some cases, your silence can even lead them to reflect on their own actions, as they are no longer receiving the validation or attention they were seeking. Let's consider an example from a personal relationship. Imagine you have a friend or partner who often starts arguments over trivial matters, trying to pull you into unnecessary drama. They might use hurtful words or bring up past issues to provoke a reaction. In moments like these, remaining silent allows you to step back from the conflict. You don't need to engage in every argument or defend yourself against every accusation. By staying quiet, you protect your peace and avoid escalating the situation. Eventually, the other person may realize that their tactics are not working and may stop trying to provoke you in the same way. However, mastering the art of silence doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations or failing to stand up for yourself when necessary. Stoicism teaches us that there are times when we must speak out, especially when it involves upholding justice or defending what is right. But even in those moments, the Stoic approach involves speaking thoughtfully and intentionally rather than reacting impulsively. Silence, therefore, becomes a tool of discernment. It helps you determine when a response is warranted and when it's better to let the toxic behavior pass without engaging. Another benefit of silence is that it helps you maintain your sense of dignity and self-respect. Toxic people often try to drag others down to their level, using insults, manipulation, or conflict to gain control. When you refuse to engage in their tactics, you preserve your own integrity. You are not lowering yourself to their level by getting involved in petty arguments or emotional confrontations. Instead, you rise above their behavior, demonstrating that your sense of self-worth is not dependent on their approval or validation. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the value of not being reactive to the behavior of others. He emphasized the importance of keeping one's mind focused on what is truly important, living according to virtue. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In this sense, remaining silent in the face of toxicity is a way of ensuring that you are not drawn into negative behavior. By not reacting, you show that you are not controlled by others' actions, but are guided by your own values and principles. Furthermore, silence can create a powerful sense of self-control. In Stoicism, self-mastery is one of the highest virtues. The ability to control your emotions, thoughts, and reactions is central to living a good life. When you choose to remain silent instead of reacting impulsively to toxic behavior, you are exercising this self-mastery. You are proving to yourself that you have control over your emotional responses, and this is deeply empowering. Over time, this practice of silence can strengthen your resilience and help you remain calm and centered in even the most challenging situations. Let's apply this principle to a workplace scenario. Suppose you have a toxic boss who frequently criticizes your work in front of others or makes demeaning comments during meetings. Instead of reacting defensively or arguing back, the Stoic approach would be to remain silent and composed. You know that their criticism is more about their own insecurities or management style than about your worth as an employee. By staying silent, you avoid escalating the situation and maintain your professionalism. You can then reflect on the criticism later, determining whether there is any constructive feedback to take from it, or whether it was simply an attempt to provoke a reaction. Silence also gives you the space to choose your battles wisely. Not every situation requires a response, and not every toxic behavior deserves your attention. Stoicism encourages us to conserve our energy for what truly matters. By mastering the art of silence, you learn to pick your battles carefully. You save your energy for moments when speaking up is necessary and beneficial, rather than wasting it on every minor conflict or provocation. This discernment helps you stay focused on your long-term goals and values, rather than getting caught up in the drama of the moment. In the end, mastering the art of silence is about choosing peace over conflict, wisdom over impulsivity, and dignity over emotional reactions. Toxic individuals may continue to try to provoke you, but your silence protects your inner tranquility. It allows you to remain centered and composed even in the face of negativity. By practicing silence, you become less reactive, more thoughtful, and ultimately more in control of your own life. This is the essence of Stoic strength, not in how loudly you can defend yourself, but in how calmly you can remain when others try to disturb your peace. Chapter 8 focuses on another critical Stoic insight. Don't seek revenge or validation. This principle is particularly powerful when dealing with toxic individuals because it teaches us not to fall into the trap of reacting emotionally, whether through vengeance or the need for external approval. Stoicism emphasizes that true peace and strength come from within, and by seeking revenge or validation, we hand over control of our emotions and happiness to others, especially those whose behavior is already toxic. Toxic people often provoke us, whether intentionally or unintentionally, in ways that make us feel wronged, disrespected, or hurt. The natural human response to being wronged is often to seek some form of retaliation, whether through direct revenge or by proving that we are right. However, the Stoics warn that seeking revenge only perpetuates the cycle of negativity, drawing us further into the toxic behavior that we seek to escape. When we focus on getting even or proving a point, we allow the toxic individual to dictate our actions, which pulls us away from our own sense of virtue and peace. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, famously wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This quote encapsulates the Stoic approach to dealing with those who wrong us. Instead of lowering ourselves to the level of the toxic individual, we should aim to rise above their behavior. Revenge, in Stoic philosophy, is a sign that we are still emotionally attached to the person who has wronged us. It indicates that we are allowing their behavior to dictate our actions and emotions. By refusing to seek revenge, we take back control of our emotional state and remain aligned with our own values of virtue, wisdom, and self-control. Imagine, for instance, that a toxic co-worker spreads rumors about you, damaging your reputation at work. The immediate impulse might be to retaliate, perhaps by spreading rumors about them in return or by going out of your way to discredit them. However, the Stoic response would be to recognize that seeking revenge only entangles you further in the same toxic behavior that you are trying to avoid. Instead of lowering yourself to their level, you remain calm and continue to focus on your own work, letting your actions speak for themselves. By not seeking revenge, you maintain your dignity and demonstrate that your worth is not dependent on what others say or think about you. In addition to revenge, Stoicism also teaches us to let go of the need for validation from others. Toxic individuals often use manipulation or emotional tactics to make you feel inadequate, hoping that you will seek their approval or try to prove yourself. They may criticize you, belittle your achievements, or make you feel as though you are not good enough. The Stoic approach is to recognize that your value does not come from external validation. Your worth is inherent, and it is defined by how well you live according to your own principles and virtues, not by the opinions of others. Epictetus advised, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." This teaching is essential when dealing with toxic people because it reminds us that we should not look to others for validation or approval. Toxic individuals may never give you the validation you seek, and by chasing it, you give them power over your happiness and sense of self-worth. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to focus on living in accordance with our own values: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. When we align ourselves with these virtues, we no longer need external validation to feel secure or worthy. Let's take an example from a social context. Imagine you have a toxic friend who constantly criticizes your choices, undermines your accomplishments, or tries to make you feel small. You might find yourself trying to prove to this person that you are successful, worthy, or capable in order to win their approval. However, the more you seek validation from them, the more they withhold it, using your need for approval as a way to manipulate or control you. The Stoic response is to stop seeking validation from this friend altogether. You recognize that their approval is not a reflection of your true worth, and you focus instead on living according to your own values and principles. By letting go of the need for validation, you free yourself from the emotional control that toxic individuals often try to exert. You are no longer dependent on their opinions or approval to feel good about yourself. This creates a sense of emotional independence, where your happiness and self-worth come from within rather than from the external world. Toxic people thrive on making others feel inadequate, but when you stop seeking their validation, their power over you diminishes. In professional settings, this principle can be particularly liberating. Suppose you have a boss or manager who constantly criticizes your work, never acknowledging your efforts or accomplishments. If you fall into the trap of seeking their validation, you might find yourself working harder and harder, hoping for a compliment or positive feedback that never comes. The Stoic response would be to shift your focus away from seeking their approval and instead concentrate on doing your best according to your own standards of excellence. You no longer need your boss's praise to feel accomplished because your sense of achievement comes from within. By not seeking revenge or validation, Stoicism teaches us to stay true to our own path. Toxic individuals may try to pull you into conflict or make you feel as though you need their approval. But when you focus on your own virtues and values, you remain unshaken by their attempts. Revenge only perpetuates conflict, while the need for validation keeps you emotionally tethered to someone else's opinion of you. The Stoic approach encourages us to let go of both, recognizing that true strength and peace come from living in alignment with our own principles. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that external events and the opinions of others are beyond his control. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his own thoughts, actions, and reactions. This is the essence of the Stoic response to toxic individuals. Instead of being reactive to their behavior, whether through revenge or the need for validation, we focus on maintaining control over our own inner world. Toxic behavior loses its power when you no longer seek to retaliate or gain approval. It's also important to understand that letting go of revenge and validation doesn't mean allowing others to walk all over you or tolerating disrespectful behavior. Stoicism teaches us to set boundaries and take appropriate action when necessary, but it encourages us to do so from a place of rational thought rather than emotional reaction. If someone is consistently toxic, you can distance yourself from them, set boundaries, or address their behavior directly, but you do so without the desire for revenge or the need for their approval. The beauty of this approach is that it allows you to rise above toxic behavior while maintaining your own peace and dignity. You are no longer caught in a cycle of conflict or emotional dependency. Instead, you live in accordance with your own values, secure in the knowledge that your worth comes from within, and that you do not need to engage in toxic dynamics to prove anything to anyone. Ultimately, by not seeking revenge or validation, you cultivate emotional resilience and self-mastery. Toxic people may try to provoke you or make you feel inadequate, but by refusing to play their game, you protect your peace. You stay focused on what truly matters, your own growth, virtue, and inner tranquility, and let go of the need for external validation or retaliation. This is the essence of Stoic strength, the ability to maintain control over your own mind and emotions, regardless of what others say or do. Chapter 9 focuses on a Stoic virtue that can seem paradoxical when dealing with toxic individuals: practicing compassion, even toward the toxic. At first glance, the idea of showing compassion to someone who harms you or behaves in a toxic way may seem counterintuitive. After all, why should you show kindness to someone who disrespects, manipulates, or hurts you? However, Stoicism teaches that compassion is not about condoning toxic behavior, but about recognizing the shared humanity that underlies all actions, even harmful ones. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of understanding the inner struggles that often drive people's toxic behaviors. Toxic individuals are frequently trapped in their own emotional turmoil, whether it's rooted in insecurity, fear, unresolved trauma, or frustration. Their harmful behavior is often a reflection of their own suffering, and while this doesn't excuse their actions, it does help us approach them with greater empathy and understanding. The Stoic approach is to acknowledge this reality and respond with compassion, rather than allowing their negativity to trigger anger or resentment within us. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Whenever you are offended at someone's fault, turn to yourself and reflect, what mistake of mine most nearly resembles the one I am angry about?" This quote reflects the Stoic idea that we all, at times, act in ways that are less than virtuous. By recognizing that we are not perfect ourselves, we can begin to cultivate compassion for those who fall short in their behavior. Compassion does not mean excusing toxic behavior or allowing it to continue unchecked, but it means acknowledging that the person behaving badly is likely struggling with their own issues, just as we sometimes struggle with ours. Imagine, for example, that you are dealing with a toxic coworker who is constantly rude and dismissive. Your initial reaction might be to feel anger or resentment, and perhaps to treat them coldly in return. But the Stoic approach would ask you to consider why this person might be acting this way. Is it possible that they are feeling insecure about their own performance at work? Are they dealing with stress or difficulties in their personal life? By considering these possibilities, you shift your mindset from one of judgment and hostility to one of empathy. This doesn't mean you excuse their rudeness, but it does help you understand that their behavior may be driven by their own unresolved issues. When we practice compassion toward toxic individuals, we free ourselves from the cycle of negativity. Toxic behavior is often contagious. If someone is rude or aggressive toward you, it's easy to respond in kind, perpetuating a cycle of conflict. However, Stoicism teaches that responding with compassion breaks this cycle. Instead of reacting with anger or hostility, you choose to remain calm and approach the situation with empathy. This disarms the toxic individual and, in some cases, may even lead to a shift in their behavior. While you cannot control how others act, by showing compassion, you model a better way of interacting, one based on understanding rather than conflict. Let's take an example from a personal relationship. Suppose you have a friend or family member who constantly criticizes your decisions or tries to manipulate you emotionally. It would be easy to respond with defensiveness or anger, but the Stoic response would be to practice compassion. Consider what might be driving their behavior. Are they feeling insecure or afraid? Are they projecting their own unresolved issues onto you? When you approach them with compassion, you are able to set boundaries or address their behavior in a way that is calm and grounded rather than reactive. You can express your feelings without attacking them, and you can approach the conversation with the goal of understanding rather than retaliation. This practice of compassion doesn't mean allowing toxic behavior to continue or tolerating abuse. Stoicism encourages us to protect our well-being, set boundaries, and distance ourselves from those who consistently harm us. However, even when setting boundaries or walking away from a toxic person, we can do so with compassion. We recognize that their behavior stems from their own internal struggles, and we let go of anger or resentment, knowing that we are all fallible and capable of growth. Epictetus taught, "If your brother wrongs you, remember not so much his wrongdoing, but that he is your brother." This teaching highlights the Stoic belief that all people are connected by a shared humanity, even those who act in harmful ways. By recognizing this, we can respond to toxic individuals with compassion, seeing them not as enemies, but as fellow human beings who are struggling in some way. This perspective allows us to detach emotionally from their behavior while still maintaining a sense of empathy. It's important to understand that Stoic compassion is not about becoming a doormat or allowing others to walk all over you. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-respect and boundaries. Compassion in this context is about approaching situations from a place of understanding and empathy, without sacrificing your own well-being. For example, if someone is being verbally abusive, you can show compassion by recognizing that they are likely struggling internally, but you can still choose to walk away from the conversation or set firm boundaries about what behavior you will not tolerate. Compassion also helps protect your inner peace. Toxic individuals often provoke strong emotional reactions, and it's easy to become consumed by anger, frustration, or hurt when dealing with their behavior. However, by practicing compassion, you shift the focus away from your emotional reaction and toward understanding their struggles. This helps you remain calm and centered, even in the face of negativity. Instead of letting their toxicity disrupt your peace, you approach the situation with empathy, which allows you to maintain emotional equilibrium. Moreover, compassion toward toxic individuals fosters emotional resilience. When you approach a difficult person with empathy, you are less likely to be drawn into their emotional turmoil. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their own internal state, and you choose not to let it affect your own emotional well-being. This resilience allows you to face toxic situations with strength and calm, knowing that you are in control of your own reactions. Let's consider a scenario in which you have a difficult neighbor who constantly complains or acts rudely toward you. The natural response might be to avoid them or to respond curtly in return. However, the Stoic approach would be to practice compassion. Perhaps this neighbor is lonely, frustrated, or dealing with challenges in their personal life that are causing them to act out. By practicing compassion, you can engage with them calmly, acknowledging their feelings without becoming defensive or angry. This doesn't mean you accept their behavior, but it does mean you approach them with empathy, which may diffuse the situation. Compassion also has the potential to transform relationships. Toxic individuals often act out of a need for validation, attention, or a desire to control others. When you respond to their behavior with compassion, you disrupt their expectations. Instead of engaging in conflict or validating their negativity, you offer understanding and empathy. While this won't always change their behavior, it can sometimes lead to a shift in the dynamic of the relationship. Toxic individuals may begin to see that their behavior is ineffective and may soften in response to the empathy you show. In the workplace, for example, if you have a toxic boss who is constantly critical or demanding, practicing compassion might involve recognizing that their behavior is driven by stress, insecurity, or pressure from higher-ups. While this doesn't excuse their behavior, it allows you to approach your interactions with them from a place of empathy rather than frustration. You can set boundaries or address their behavior professionally without being reactive or emotionally charged. Ultimately, practicing compassion toward toxic individuals is about choosing to remain aligned with your own values. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control how others behave, but we can control how we respond. By choosing compassion, we rise above the negativity, refusing to let it dictate our emotions or actions. This practice helps us maintain our inner peace, protect our well-being, and approach all situations with wisdom and understanding. In summary, practicing compassion even toward toxic individuals is a powerful Stoic tool for maintaining your peace and emotional resilience. By understanding that toxic behavior often stems from internal struggles, you can approach difficult people with empathy rather than anger. This doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior, but it does mean recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all. Compassion allows you to remain calm, centered, and in control, even in the face of negativity, and helps you break the cycle of conflict and toxicity. Through compassion, you protect your inner peace while still acting with kindness and understanding. Chapter 10 explores a critical aspect of the Stoic approach to dealing with toxic individuals: focusing on your own growth. When faced with negativity or harmful behavior, it's easy to get drawn into the emotional chaos that toxic people often create. However, Stoicism teaches us that one of the most effective ways to deal with toxicity is to shift our focus entirely away from the behavior of others and concentrate on our own development, on becoming the best version of ourselves, regardless of the circumstances we face. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the idea that we cannot control external events or the actions of others, but we can always control how we respond and where we direct our energy. Toxic people may continue to act in harmful ways, but their behavior need not derail your progress or distract you from your goals. By focusing on your own growth, you not only protect your inner peace, but also transform toxic encounters into opportunities for personal development. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the cultivation of virtue. The Stoics believed that true happiness and fulfillment come not from external success or the approval of others, but from living a life guided by the virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. When you focus on your own growth, you prioritize the development of these virtues, using each interaction with a toxic individual as a chance to practice patience, resilience, and emotional control. Let's consider an example. Imagine you have a toxic co-worker who is always trying to undermine your efforts, criticize your work, or take credit for your ideas. Instead of getting caught up in their behavior or allowing their negativity to distract you, the Stoic approach is to focus on your own growth. Ask yourself, how can I use this situation to become wiser? How can I practice patience and self-discipline in the face of their behavior? By framing the encounter in terms of your personal development, you transform it from a negative experience into an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, often reminded himself to focus on his own actions rather than becoming consumed by the actions of others. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This advice is particularly relevant when dealing with toxic people. Instead of wasting energy trying to change them or getting frustrated by their behavior, you focus on living according to your own values. You become a better person, not in spite of their negativity, but because of how you choose to respond to it. Focusing on your own growth also means accepting that you cannot change toxic people, but you can change how much power their behavior has over you. Toxic individuals often try to draw you into their emotional drama, whether through manipulation, criticism, or passive-aggressive behavior. The more you focus on their actions, the more power you give them over your emotional state. But when you shift your focus inward, concentrating on your own development and well-being, you take that power back. Their negativity no longer defines your emotional world because you are too focused on your own journey to be affected by it. In personal relationships, focusing on your growth can be incredibly liberating. Suppose you have a toxic friend or family member who constantly belittles you or tries to control your decisions. The Stoic response would be to detach from their behavior emotionally and focus on your own development. This doesn't mean you tolerate their harmful actions or avoid setting boundaries, but it does mean that you no longer invest your energy in trying to change them or win their approval. Instead, you concentrate on cultivating virtues like patience, kindness, and resilience. You become stronger, more self-assured, and less dependent on the opinions or actions of others for your sense of self-worth. Another benefit of focusing on your growth is that it shifts your mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. Toxic individuals often leave us feeling powerless, as though we are at the mercy of their behavior. But Stoicism teaches that true power lies in how we choose to respond. When you focus on your own growth, you reclaim your sense of agency. You recognize that while you cannot control what toxic people do, you have complete control over your own development. This mindset is incredibly empowering because it places the responsibility for your happiness and progress squarely in your hands, where it belongs. Epictetus, another prominent Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This quote is a reminder that toxic behavior doesn't have to hold you back. By focusing on your own growth, you take ownership of your reactions and use every challenge as an opportunity to become a better person. Toxic individuals may try to provoke you, undermine you, or create drama, but you can choose to use these experiences as fuel for your own self-improvement. Instead of being derailed by their actions, you stay committed to your path of personal development. In a professional context, this approach can be particularly valuable. Toxic work environments can drain your energy and leave you feeling demoralized. But by focusing on your growth, you can rise above the negativity. You might set personal goals to improve your skills, work on your emotional intelligence, or develop better communication techniques, all while remaining unaffected by the toxic behavior around you. This shift in focus allows you to continue progressing in your career and maintaining your sense of professionalism, even in a challenging environment. Moreover, when you focus on your own growth, you inspire others. Toxic individuals often thrive on bringing others down, but by demonstrating resilience, self-discipline, and a commitment to personal development, you become a model of what is possible. Others may see your example and choose to rise above negativity themselves. While you cannot control the behavior of toxic people, your focus on growth can have a ripple effect, encouraging those around you to also focus on their own progress and well-being. One of the most important aspects of focusing on your growth is that it helps you maintain a long-term perspective. Toxic behavior is often short-sighted and reactive, driven by immediate emotions or insecurities. But Stoicism encourages us to think in terms of the bigger picture. When you focus on your growth, you prioritize your long-term well-being over short-term emotional reactions. Toxic people may try to pull you into momentary conflicts, but by keeping your eye on your long-term goals, you remain steady and unshaken. You recognize that the actions of others, no matter how negative, are temporary, while your commitment to self-improvement is enduring. In relationships, whether personal or professional, focusing on your growth also helps you make decisions that align with your values. Toxic individuals often try to manipulate others into making choices that serve their own interests, rather than those that are in your best interest. But when you are focused on your growth, you are more likely to make decisions that support your long-term well-being and personal development. You are less likely to be swayed by the opinions or demands of toxic people, and more likely to stay true to your own path. Finally, focusing on your growth helps you maintain your peace of mind. Toxic people can create a lot of emotional noise, criticism, negativity, manipulation, and drama. But when you focus on your own development, you become less reactive to their behavior. You are too busy improving yourself, learning, and growing to be distracted by their negativity. This inner focus creates a sense of calm and confidence, as you know that no matter what happens externally, you are in control of your own progress. In conclusion, focusing on your own growth is one of the most powerful ways to deal with toxic individuals in a Stoic way. By shifting your attention away from their behavior and toward your own development, you protect your peace, empower yourself, and transform toxic encounters into opportunities for personal growth. Whether in personal relationships or professional settings, this focus on growth helps you stay aligned with your values, remain resilient in the face of negativity, and ultimately become the best version of yourself. Chapter 11 focuses on a key Stoic practice for maintaining inner peace, embracing the power of indifference. When dealing with toxic individuals, the ability to remain indifferent to their negativity is one of the most powerful tools you can cultivate. In Stoicism, indifference does not mean apathy or ignoring problems. Instead, it refers to a state of emotional detachment from things that are outside of your control. By embracing indifference, you protect your inner tranquility, allowing toxic behaviors to pass by without disturbing your emotional equilibrium. The Stoics believed that emotional distress often comes from attaching too much importance to external events, things that are, by nature, beyond our control. Toxic individuals often attempt to provoke, manipulate, or offend us in ways that trigger emotional reactions. They may seek to unsettle us, bring us into their drama, or undermine our sense of self-worth. However, by cultivating a mindset of indifference, you remove their ability to affect you. You recognize that their actions are ultimately insignificant to your inner state, and as a result, their toxicity loses its power. Epictetus, one of the foundational Stoic philosophers, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This teaching is at the core of embracing indifference. Toxic people may try to hurt you with their words or actions, but those external events are not inherently damaging. The damage only occurs if you allow yourself to react emotionally, to take their behavior personally, or to place importance on their negativity. When you remain indifferent to their attempts to provoke you, you maintain control over your own emotional state, which is ultimately the only thing that matters. Indifference, in the Stoic sense, means understanding what truly matters, your inner virtues, values, and the way you live your life, and letting go of everything that does not align with these core principles. The opinions, insults, or manipulations of toxic people are irrelevant to your path toward wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. By embracing this mindset, you free yourself from the emotional ups and downs that come with dealing with toxic behavior. Let's take an example. Imagine you have a family member who regularly makes passive-aggressive remarks about your life choices, hoping to provoke a reaction or make you feel inadequate. Without the practice of indifference, you might find yourself getting defensive, arguing back, or feeling hurt by their comments. However, the Stoic approach would be to remind yourself that their opinions are outside your control and irrelevant to your happiness or self-worth. By remaining indifferent, you acknowledge their behavior, but refuse to let it disturb your peace. Their words lose their sting because you have chosen not to invest emotional energy in them. Indifference also helps you maintain your sense of focus and clarity. Toxic individuals often thrive on drama, and they try to pull others into their emotional storms. They may provoke you in subtle or overt ways, hoping to create a reaction that feeds their need for conflict or control. But when you practice indifference, you refuse to get caught in their emotional turmoil. You remain centered and focused on your own life, goals, and values. Their attempts to provoke you become irrelevant, and you continue on your path with a sense of calm and purpose. This approach is not about ignoring toxic behavior or pretending it doesn't exist. Stoicism teaches us to recognize and acknowledge the challenges we face, but it also teaches us to respond with reason and emotional restraint. Indifference doesn't mean that you ignore toxic individuals. It means that you refuse to let their negativity define your emotional state or distract you from what truly matters. You can still set boundaries, distance yourself, or address the behavior directly, but you do so from a place of calm detachment rather than emotional reaction. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reflected on the importance of remaining unaffected by the actions of others. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This insight is essential for embracing indifference. No matter what a toxic individual says or does, you have complete control over how much importance you place on their actions. By choosing indifference, you shift your focus away from their behavior and toward what is within your control, your thoughts, emotions, and responses. One of the key benefits of indifference is that it frees you from the emotional roller coaster that toxic individuals often create. Toxic behavior is designed to provoke, and when you react emotionally, you get caught in a cycle of conflict, resentment, or frustration. But when you remain indifferent, you break that cycle. You refuse to engage in the emotional back and forth, and as a result, toxic individuals lose their power to affect you. This not only protects your peace, but also conserves your energy for the things that truly matter in your life. Consider a scenario in the workplace. Suppose you have a boss who is consistently critical, never acknowledging your hard work or achievements. It would be easy to feel frustrated, unappreciated, or even angry in such a situation. However, the Stoic practice of indifference encourages you to recognize that your boss's behavior is outside your control. Whether they praise you or criticize you has no bearing on your intrinsic worth or your commitment to doing your best work. By remaining indifferent to their negativity, you continue to focus on what you can control, your own efforts, your own growth, and your own professional development. Indifference also creates space for personal reflection and growth. When you are not constantly reacting to the actions of others, you have more mental and emotional energy to invest in your own development. Toxic individuals can be draining, pulling your attention away from your goals and values. But by embracing indifference, you protect your focus and ensure that your time and energy are directed toward your own progress. You stop wasting energy on what others say or do, and instead use that energy to cultivate your own virtues, deepen your relationships with supportive people, and pursue meaningful goals. At its core, embracing indifference means recognizing that your emotional well-being is too valuable to be influenced by the negativity of others. Toxic individuals may continue their behavior, but you have the power to remain unaffected. You choose not to let their actions disturb your peace, and in doing so, you reclaim your emotional autonomy. This is the essence of Stoic strength, remaining calm, centered, and focused on what truly matters, regardless of external circumstances. Another key aspect of Stoic indifference is learning to accept people as they are. Toxic individuals often behave in harmful ways because they are dealing with their own struggles, insecurities, or emotional issues. While this doesn't excuse their behavior, it does help us approach them with a sense of detachment. By accepting that we cannot change them, we free ourselves from the frustration of trying to control their actions. We accept that their behavior is part of their own journey, and we choose to focus on our own path instead. In personal relationships, this practice can be transformative. If you have a friend or family member who consistently behaves in a toxic way, embracing indifference allows you to maintain the relationship on your own terms. You can still engage with them when necessary, but you do so without letting their behavior affect your emotional state. You remain calm, compassionate, and centered, knowing that their actions are not a reflection of you. In summary, embracing the power of indifference is a powerful Stoic practice for dealing with toxic individuals. By remaining emotionally detached from their behavior, you protect your peace, maintain your focus, and ensure that your energy is directed toward your own growth and well-being. Toxic people may continue their negativity, but when you practice indifference, you free yourself from the emotional turmoil they try to create. You remain in control of your own mind and emotions, focusing on what truly matters, your inner virtues, your goals, and your own journey toward wisdom and self-mastery. By choosing indifference, you allow yourself to navigate toxic relationships and challenging situations without becoming emotionally entangled in someone else's negativity. This doesn't mean you are dismissive or unfeeling. It means that you understand where your power lies and choose to protect your peace above all. Toxic individuals often seek validation through creating conflict, drama, or by dragging others into their emotional chaos. When you react to their provocations, you give them what they are looking for, whether that's a heated argument, a defense, or an emotional response that justifies their behavior. But when you practice indifference, you refuse to give them the satisfaction of seeing you upset or reactive. Instead, You remain calm, rational, and detached, letting their toxic behavior wash over you without penetrating your inner sense of peace. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." This quote captures the essence of indifference. It reminds us that most of the harm toxic individuals inflict upon us is not from their actions themselves, but from how we interpret and internalize those actions. If you refuse to see yourself as a victim, if you reject the idea that their behavior has the power to hurt you, you remove the source of the pain. The toxic person's attempts to offend or hurt you fall flat because you do not allow their negativity to affect your emotional world. Let's explore this in a practical context. Suppose you have a toxic colleague who is known for making passive-aggressive comments in meetings, trying to undermine your ideas or contributions. Without indifference, these comments might make you feel self-conscious or angry. You might spend time replaying their words in your head, trying to think of the perfect comeback or wondering how you could have handled the situation better. However, if you embrace indifference, you understand that their words are meaningless unless you allow them to have an impact. Their attempts to undermine you reflect their own insecurities or desire for control, not your worth or competence. By remaining indifferent, you shift your focus back to what truly matters: your work, your goals, and your own path. Indifference also allows you to respond more effectively to toxic behavior. When you're not emotionally invested in their provocations, you can respond calmly and rationally, if a response is necessary at all. Toxic individuals often expect and rely on emotional reactions to fuel their behavior. By remaining detached, you disrupt their expectations and maintain control of the situation. This creates an environment where you are not reactive but proactive, choosing your responses carefully and wisely, based on what will serve you best in the long run. In personal relationships, this practice can be especially empowering. Toxic family members or friends often thrive on creating emotional turmoil. They may know exactly which buttons to push to provoke a reaction, and in the past, you may have found yourself getting pulled into arguments or emotional confrontations. But when you cultivate indifference, you become immune to their provocations. Their attempts to upset you lose their power because you no longer react emotionally. You may still interact with them, but you do so on your own terms, with an emotional detachment that protects your inner peace. Indifference in Stoicism is not about withdrawing from life or from people. It's about engaging with the world from a place of strength and clarity. Toxic people may still be a part of your life, whether through work, family, or other relationships, but you choose not to let their negativity disturb your focus. You interact with them without becoming entangled in their emotional manipulations. You set boundaries, you remain calm, and you act from a place of reason rather than reaction. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing indifference is that it allows you to focus on what is within your control. Toxic behavior is entirely outside of your control, but your thoughts, emotions, and actions are fully within your power. Stoicism teaches that we should direct our energy toward what we can influence and let go of the rest. By practicing indifference toward toxic people, you reclaim the energy you might otherwise waste on worrying about or reacting to their behavior. Instead, you invest that energy in your own growth, your goals, and your relationships with people who uplift and support you. Let's take a deeper look at how this principle plays out in a professional setting. Suppose you work in an office where one of your colleagues is constantly undermining you, either through gossip, criticism, or by trying to take credit for your work. You might initially feel the urge to confront them or retaliate. However, by practicing indifference, you detach emotionally from their behavior and focus on what is within your control, doing your job to the best of your ability, maintaining your professionalism, and building relationships with others who recognize and appreciate your contributions. Their behavior remains outside of your emotional sphere, and you don't allow it to derail your professional progress. In social or family settings, embracing indifference allows you to interact with toxic individuals without feeling drained or upset afterward. Suppose you have a family member who frequently criticizes your life choices or tries to impose their opinions on you. Instead of reacting emotionally or feeling the need to defend yourself, you can practice indifference by acknowledging their words, but not allowing them to affect your mood or sense of self-worth. You might respond with a neutral comment or simply let their remarks pass without engagement. By doing so, you maintain your emotional boundaries and ensure that their toxicity doesn't spill into your mental space. Another critical benefit of indifference is that it protects you from emotional exhaustion. Toxic people often thrive on draining others' energy, whether it's through constant criticism, emotional manipulation, or creating drama. Their behavior can leave you feeling exhausted if you let it. But by remaining indifferent to their provocations, you conserve your emotional energy. You no longer spend time and mental effort ruminating on their behavior or reacting to their negativity. Instead, you keep your emotional resources for yourself, directing them toward your own well-being and personal growth. Marcus Aurelius encouraged us to rise above external negativity when he wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do." This is the essence of indifference. When you stop caring about the toxic actions or words of others, you free yourself from the emotional chaos they try to create. You focus only on what you can control: your own behavior, your own thoughts, and your own emotional state. Finally, embracing indifference allows you to live with greater freedom and autonomy. Toxic individuals no longer hold sway over your mood, your decisions, or your self-esteem. You become the master of your own emotional world, unaffected by the negativity that others try to impose on you. This sense of inner autonomy is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. It's the realization that while you cannot control the behavior of others, you have full control over how you choose to respond. By practicing indifference, you reclaim that power and live in a state of peace, clarity, and emotional freedom. In life, toxic individuals are often unavoidable. They may be co-workers, friends, family members, or acquaintances who consistently bring negativity, manipulation, or conflict into our lives. While it's tempting to react emotionally to their behavior, whether through anger, frustration, or a desire to retaliate, the teachings of Stoicism offer a radically different approach. By adopting Stoic principles, we can face toxic individuals with resilience, clarity, and inner strength. The key lies not in changing them, but in changing how we respond. Through the course of this script, we've explored 11 powerful Stoic strategies for dealing with toxic individuals. Each chapter has shown that Stoicism provides a timeless framework for navigating challenging relationships without sacrificing our own peace and well-being. Rather than allowing toxic people to dictate our emotions, Stoicism empowers us to remain in control of our responses, focusing on what is truly within our power, our own thoughts, actions, and emotional state. In Chapter 1, we began with the foundational Stoic principle of recognizing what is within our control. This lesson is crucial when dealing with toxic individuals because their actions, behaviors, and attitudes are entirely outside our sphere of influence. However, what we can control is our response to them. By focusing on our own thoughts and actions, we reclaim our emotional power, choosing to remain calm and composed even in the face of negativity. Chapter 2 taught us the importance of practicing emotional detachment. Toxic individuals often seek to provoke emotional reactions, but Stoicism encourages us to cultivate emotional distance, responding to their behavior without letting it disturb our inner peace. This ability to detach emotionally gives us the power to remain resilient and unshaken by their attempts to manipulate or control us. In Chapter 3, we explored the significance of setting boundaries with assertiveness, not aggression. Toxic people often test our limits, and without clear boundaries, they can drain our energy and undermine our self-respect. The Stoic way is to establish firm boundaries from a place of calm and reason, ensuring that we protect our peace without resorting to hostility or anger. Chapter 4 emphasized the power of reframing negative interactions. Instead of seeing toxic behavior as a personal attack or a source of frustration, we can view it as an opportunity for growth. Reframing allows us to shift our mindset, transforming every toxic encounter into a chance to practice patience, wisdom, and self-control. In doing so, we stop reacting emotionally and start approaching toxic people with a sense of purpose and strength. In Chapter 5, we learned about the importance of limiting exposure to toxic individuals. While we can't always avoid them entirely, we can choose how much time and energy we invest in them. Stoicism teaches us to create environments that nurture our growth, which sometimes means distancing ourselves from people who consistently bring negativity into our lives. By limiting exposure, we reclaim our energy and refocus it on our own development. Chapter 6 focused on the principle of not taking things personally. Toxic individuals often project their own insecurities and struggles onto others, and their behavior is rarely a reflection of who we are. By refusing to take their actions personally, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of their negativity, recognizing that their behavior is about them, not us. In Chapter 7, we explored the art of mastering silence. Sometimes, the most powerful response to toxic behavior is no response at all. Toxic people often seek to provoke emotional reactions, but by choosing silence, we refuse to engage in their drama. Silence is a tool of self-discipline, allowing us to maintain our dignity and peace without becoming entangled in unnecessary conflict. Chapter 8 taught us the value of not seeking revenge or validation. Toxic individuals may hurt us or make us feel inadequate, but Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from within. Seeking revenge only perpetuates the cycle of negativity, while seeking validation gives others control over our self-worth. By letting go of both, we rise above toxic behavior and maintain our sense of inner strength and autonomy. Chapter 9 introduced the concept of practicing compassion, even toward toxic individuals. While it may seem counterintuitive, Stoicism teaches that toxic behavior often stems from internal struggles. By approaching toxic people with empathy and understanding, we disarm their negativity and break the cycle of conflict. Compassion allows us to remain kind and calm while still protecting our boundaries and well-being. In Chapter 10, we explored the importance of focusing on our own growth. Toxic individuals can be distracting, but Stoicism reminds us to concentrate on our personal development. By investing our energy in our own progress, we transform toxic encounters into opportunities for self-improvement. This shift in focus helps us maintain a sense of purpose, empowering us to rise above negativity and stay true to our values. Finally, in Chapter 11, we discussed the power of embracing indifference. Toxic behavior only affects us if we allow it to. By practicing indifference, we detach emotionally from the actions of others, choosing not to invest emotional energy in things we cannot control. Indifference is not apathy, it's a deliberate choice to protect our peace and focus on what truly matters, our own growth and well-being. Dealing with toxic individuals doesn't mean letting them disrupt your life. Through the wisdom of Stoicism, you can face their negativity with resilience, protect your inner peace, and continue to grow. Remember, the power lies not in changing others, but in mastering your response. Dealing with toxic individuals doesn't mean letting them disrupt your life. In fact, one of the core teachings of Stoicism is that we can encounter negativity without allowing it to derail our emotional well-being or our sense of purpose. Toxic people may bring drama, manipulation, or emotional turmoil into your life. But through the wisdom of Stoicism, you can face their negativity with resilience, protect your inner peace, and continue to grow. The foundation of this approach lies in understanding that while you cannot control the actions of others, you have complete control over how you choose to respond to them. Toxic individuals often thrive on eliciting reactions, whether through criticism, hostility, or passive-aggressive behavior, and they seek to draw others into their emotional chaos. But the Stoic mindset teaches that it is not the actions of others that disturb us, but rather how we interpret and react to those actions. By mastering your response, you retain your power, ensuring that toxic behavior does not impact your mental or emotional state. Imagine, for example, that a colleague regularly undermines your contributions in meetings or subtly discredits your ideas. Without a Stoic approach, this behavior might frustrate you, leading to anger or resentment, and even causing you to question your abilities or worth. However, Stoicism encourages you to see the situation differently. Rather than focusing on the colleague's toxic behavior and becoming emotionally involved, you focus on what is within your control, your own actions, your own sense of integrity, and how you choose to react. You cannot change their behavior, but you can choose to remain composed, confident in your abilities, and detached from their attempts to provoke you. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating because it allows you to navigate toxic situations without letting them consume your thoughts or energy. Toxic people often want you to react emotionally, to get defensive, or to fight back in ways that give them control over your emotional state. But Stoicism gives you the tools to break free from this cycle. By mastering your response, you create a buffer between yourself and their negativity. You choose calm over conflict, reason over reaction, and peace over drama. In this way, you not only protect your inner peace, but you also grow stronger in your ability to maintain composure under pressure. The ability to maintain this kind of emotional resilience doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice, patience, and a commitment to cultivating self-awareness. One of the key practices in Stoicism is regularly reflecting on your emotional responses to challenging situations. By examining your reactions, you begin to recognize patterns in how you respond to negativity and toxic behavior. This reflection allows you to make adjustments, ensuring that your future responses align more closely with the Stoic ideal of calmness and rationality. Over time, you develop the ability to remain unshaken, even in the face of persistent toxicity. It's important to remember that mastering your response to toxic individuals does not mean ignoring their behavior or pretending it doesn't exist. Stoicism is not about avoiding reality, but about engaging with it in a way that preserves your inner tranquility. You may still need to address toxic behavior, set boundaries, or distance yourself from certain individuals, but you do so from a place of calm and clarity, rather than from emotional reaction. This distinction is crucial because it ensures that you are in control of your actions, rather than being driven by the emotional turmoil that toxic people often try to create. Stoicism also teaches that every interaction with a toxic individual is an opportunity for personal growth. Toxic behavior is challenging, but it also provides a chance to practice the virtues that Stoicism values most: patience, wisdom, courage, and self-control. When someone tries to provoke you or bring you down, you can see it as a test of your ability to remain steady and composed. Every time you succeed in maintaining your inner peace, you strengthen your capacity for resilience. You learn to navigate the external world without letting it disturb your internal state. This approach helps you stay focused on your own path of growth and self-improvement, regardless of the negativity that others bring into your life. Toxic individuals may continue their harmful behavior, but by mastering your response, you refuse to be derailed by it. Instead, you stay committed to your own values and goals, allowing external events to pass by without interfering with your sense of purpose. This mindset shifts the focus away from what others are doing and back onto what truly matters: your own progress and well-being. Consider how empowering this approach can be in all areas of your life, Whether you are dealing with a toxic boss, a difficult family member, or a manipulative friend, Stoicism allows you to remain emotionally independent. Toxic people often seek control, but by mastering your response, you deny them the ability to influence your emotions. You maintain your sense of autonomy, making decisions that align with your values, rather than being swayed by the negativity of others. This independence not only protects your peace of mind, but it also reinforces your sense of self-respect and confidence. Furthermore, by mastering your response to toxic individuals, you cultivate an inner strength that extends beyond those specific interactions. The skills you develop, emotional control, patience, and clarity, become tools that you can apply to any situation, whether it's dealing with stress at work, facing personal challenges, or navigating complex relationships. The resilience you build in dealing with toxic people becomes a foundation for handling all of life's difficulties with grace and composure. One of the most profound aspects of Stoicism is its emphasis on accepting reality as it is, without becoming attached to how we think things should be. Toxic individuals will always exist in some form, and trying to eliminate all negativity from your life is neither realistic nor necessary. Instead, Stoicism teaches you to accept that toxic behavior is part of the human experience, and that your true power lies not in changing others, but in mastering your response to them. This acceptance brings a deep sense of peace because it frees you from the frustration of trying to control what cannot be controlled. When you adopt this Stoic approach, toxic people no longer have the power to disrupt your life. You see their behavior for what it is, a reflection of their own struggles, insecurities, or unhappiness, and you choose not to let it affect you. You understand that their negativity is external, and that your internal peace is something that only you can govern. By mastering your response, you transform what could be a source of stress into an opportunity for growth, strengthening your ability to remain calm and centered in all situations. This mindset not only protects your inner peace, but also allows you to continue growing and thriving, regardless of external circumstances. Toxic individuals may try to create obstacles, but by remaining focused on your own progress, you move forward with confidence and clarity. You no longer waste energy on their drama or negativity. Instead, you channel that energy into your own self-improvement, ensuring that every challenge, no matter how difficult, becomes a stepping stone toward becoming a better, wiser, and more resilient version of yourself. Ultimately, the power lies not in changing others, but in mastering your response. Toxic people will come and go, but your ability to remain in control of your own emotions and actions is what truly defines your strength. Through the wisdom of Stoicism, you learn to face their negativity with resilience, protect your inner peace, and continue to grow, no matter what challenges you encounter. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy. Not to be at the mercy of external events, but to find strength, purpose, and tranquility within yourself. When you continue on this path of mastering your response, you begin to see how transformative Stoicism can be, not just in dealing with toxic individuals, but in navigating life as a whole. Toxic behavior is just one of the many external challenges that life presents, and by applying Stoic principles, you equip yourself with a robust mental framework for handling any adversity. The essence of Stoicism is to build a mindset that remains unaffected by the ups and downs of the external world. Toxic people, difficult circumstances, and unexpected obstacles are inevitable, but they do not have to disturb your inner tranquility. As you refine your ability to master your response, you begin to experience a profound sense of freedom. Toxic individuals who once may have caused you stress, frustration, or emotional pain no longer have the power to affect you in the same way. Instead of reacting emotionally to their negativity, you observe their behavior with a calm detachment, recognizing that their actions are a reflection of their internal struggles, not a measure of your worth. This freedom from emotional entanglement is deeply empowering because it allows you to maintain control over your own emotional state, no matter what others do or say. With this freedom comes clarity, when you are no longer distracted by the emotional chaos that toxic people try to create. You can focus more clearly on your goals, your values, and your personal growth. Toxic individuals often drain our energy, but when you no longer react to their provocations, you reclaim that energy for yourself. You can redirect it toward pursuits that matter to you, whether that's advancing in your career, cultivating meaningful relationships, or deepening your personal development. Mastering your response creates the mental and emotional space you need to thrive in every area of your life. This shift in focus also fosters a deeper sense of purpose. Stoicism teaches that our purpose in life is to live in accordance with virtue, to pursue wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. When you are caught up in the negativity of toxic people, it becomes easy to lose sight of these virtues. Their behavior can pull you into petty conflicts, emotional reactions, and short-term frustrations that divert you from your higher goals. But by mastering your response, you stay aligned with your purpose. You rise above the immediate conflict, keeping your focus on the bigger picture, your journey toward living a life of virtue and meaning. As you continue to practice these Stoic principles, you will notice a transformation in your relationships as well. Toxic individuals may still be a part of your life, but their behavior no longer dictates the quality of your interactions. You engage with them on your own terms, with emotional boundaries that protect your peace. This not only improves your emotional well-being, but also shifts the dynamic in the relationship itself. Toxic people often rely on emotional reactions to sustain their behavior, but when you respond with calmness and detachment, you take away their fuel. Over time, they may adjust their behavior or simply lose interest in trying to provoke you. Moreover, your ability to master your response will have a positive impact on your other relationships, especially those with supportive, non-toxic individuals. When you are no longer weighed down by the emotional drain of toxic interactions, you can invest more fully in the people who truly matter, those who uplift and encourage you. Your relationships become richer and more fulfilling because you have more energy and emotional bandwidth to give. By mastering your response to toxic individuals, you enhance your ability to cultivate healthy, positive relationships in all areas of your life. The ripple effect of mastering your response extends even further. As you become more skilled at handling toxic individuals with grace and calm, you become a role model for others. Friends, family members, and colleagues may notice your ability to remain unshaken by negativity, and they may be inspired by your example. You show them that it is possible to rise above toxic behavior without becoming embroiled in conflict or emotional drama. In this way, your personal growth not only benefits you, but also influences those around you in a positive way. Another important outcome of mastering your response is the resilience you build over time. Every time you face a toxic individual and choose to respond calmly, you strengthen your ability to handle future challenges. Toxic behavior becomes less and less impactful as you develop the mental toughness to remain composed in even the most difficult situations. This resilience carries over into other aspects of your life as well. Whether you're facing a personal setback, a professional obstacle, or a challenging decision, the emotional discipline you've cultivated in dealing with toxic people gives you the strength to navigate all of life's challenges with greater ease. At the heart of this journey is the recognition that you are responsible for your own happiness and peace of mind. Toxic individuals may try to disrupt that peace, but their efforts are only successful if you allow them to be. By mastering your response, you take full ownership of your emotional state. You no longer rely on others to treat you a certain way in order to feel content or fulfilled. Instead, you generate your own sense of well-being from within, based on how you choose to think, act, and respond to the world around you. This autonomy over your emotions is one of the most empowering aspects of Stoicism. It frees you from the need for external validation, approval, or control. Toxic individuals often use manipulation or criticism to try to control how you feel, but when you have mastered your response, you are no longer vulnerable to their tactics. You stand firm in your sense of self, knowing that your worth is not determined by their behavior. This self-assurance creates a deep, unshakable confidence that allows you to navigate any situation with grace and strength. In the end, dealing with toxic individuals does not have to be a source of stress or frustration. Through the wisdom of Stoicism, you can approach every toxic encounter as an opportunity to practice emotional resilience, protect your inner peace, and continue growing. The power lies not in changing the toxic individuals around you, but in mastering your response to them. By doing so, you transform their negativity into a catalyst for your own personal development, allowing you to rise above the challenges and become stronger, wiser, and more peaceful with each encounter. This mastery of your response becomes a cornerstone of your Stoic practice, shaping not only how you deal with toxic people, but how you approach all of life's difficulties. You learn that while you cannot control external events, you have full control over how those events affect you. This realization empowers you to live with greater freedom, purpose, and peace. Toxic individuals no longer have the power to disrupt your life because you have built an inner fortress of calm and resilience, guided by the principles of Stoicism. Through this journey, you cultivate a deep sense of tranquility that remains steady, no matter what challenges arise. As you continue to master your response to toxic individuals, you come to embody one of the core Stoic teachings: invincibility of the mind. This idea is rooted in the Stoic belief that nothing external can truly harm us unless we allow it to. Toxic individuals, challenging circumstances, and difficult emotions are all part of life, but they don't have to disturb your inner tranquility. Your mind, when properly disciplined, becomes a fortress that external negativity cannot penetrate. This invincibility is not about avoiding challenges or pretending they don't exist. It's about developing such a deep level of emotional control and self-awareness that nothing outside yourself has the power to disrupt your peace. One of the most remarkable aspects of this Stoic invincibility is the way it transforms your experience of life. When you no longer react impulsively to toxic behavior or let it affect your emotional state, you gain a sense of calm and clarity that allows you to see situations as they truly are. You are no longer clouded by emotional reactions like anger, frustration, or resentment, which can distort your judgment. Instead, you approach every situation with a level head, guided by reason and virtue. This clarity enables you to make better decisions, handle conflicts with wisdom, and maintain harmonious relationships even with difficult people. Over time, mastering your response to toxic individuals cultivates a profound sense of inner freedom. You realize that the opinions, actions, and judgments of others are outside your control and therefore not worth dwelling on. Whether someone criticizes you, tries to manipulate you, or behaves in a toxic way, their actions no longer define your emotional state. You stop seeking approval or validation from others because you understand that your worth is not dependent on how others perceive you. This inner freedom allows you to move through the world with confidence and self-assurance, unshaken by the negativity or toxicity of those around you. Another key element of Stoic invincibility is emotional resilience. Toxic individuals often push our emotional buttons, trying to trigger reactions that align with their own negativity. But as you strengthen your Stoic practice, you become emotionally resilient, meaning you are less reactive to their provocations. Instead of getting caught up in emotional drama, you maintain your composure and focus on what truly matters: your own inner growth, your peace, and your long-term goals. Emotional resilience also means that when difficult emotions arise, whether triggered by toxic behavior or other challenges, you can acknowledge those emotions without being controlled by them. You allow yourself to feel without letting those feelings dictate your actions or disrupt your mental clarity. In this way, Stoicism teaches that it is not external circumstances that determine our happiness, but our internal state of mind. Toxic individuals may try to create turmoil, but they cannot affect your internal peace unless you allow them to. By mastering your response, you take full responsibility for your own happiness. This practice deepens your understanding of the Stoic principle that all suffering stems from within, specifically from how we choose to perceive and react to the world around us. When you change your perspective, you change your experience of life. This understanding leads to a greater sense of self-discipline, one of the most prized Stoic virtues. Toxic individuals often test your patience and emotional limits, but by responding with calmness and reason, you practice self-discipline. Each time you choose not to react emotionally to their negativity, you strengthen your ability to maintain control over your emotions and actions. This self-discipline not only protects you from the toxic behavior of others, but also helps you cultivate greater control over all aspects of your life. You become more disciplined in your thoughts, more mindful of your actions, and more intentional about the way you engage with the world. As you continue on this journey of mastering your response, you also become more adept at setting boundaries. Stoicism encourages the creation of healthy boundaries, not as a way of avoiding people, but as a means of protecting your inner peace. Toxic individuals often try to overstep boundaries, whether by manipulating you, criticizing you, or demanding more than is reasonable. By mastering your response, you gain the clarity to recognize when boundaries need to be set and the strength to enforce them calmly and assertively. This not only protects your well-being, but also signals to toxic individuals that their behavior will not be tolerated. Setting boundaries, however, doesn't mean isolating yourself or avoiding difficult situations. Stoicism is about engaging with life fully, even when it presents challenges. Toxic people may still be a part of your life, but you engage with them on your terms. You set the conditions for how and when you interact with them, ensuring that their negativity does not spill over into other areas of your life. This approach allows you to maintain relationships when necessary, while protecting your emotional and mental health. Moreover, as you deepen your Stoic practice, you begin to develop a sense of compassion toward toxic individuals, as explored earlier. Stoicism teaches that everyone is fighting their own internal battles, and often toxic behavior is a reflection of unresolved pain, insecurity, or confusion within the individual. While this doesn't excuse their behavior, it helps you approach them with empathy rather than anger. Compassion allows you to understand that their actions are not personal, they are acting from a place of suffering. This understanding helps you detach emotionally from their behavior, viewing it not as an attack on you, but as an expression of their own struggles. By responding with compassion, you break the cycle of conflict and maintain your own emotional equilibrium. This compassionate detachment is a powerful tool for maintaining peace in your relationships. Toxic individuals often expect others to meet their negativity with anger or defensiveness, but when you respond with calmness and compassion, you disrupt their expectations. Over time, they may begin to change their behavior, realizing that their attempts to provoke you are no longer effective. While you cannot guarantee that they will change, your compassionate response sets the tone for more positive interactions and helps you maintain your own sense of dignity and integrity. The transformation that comes from mastering your response to toxic individuals extends far beyond your personal interactions. It shapes how you approach every challenge in life. The skills you develop, emotional resilience, clarity, self-discipline, and compassion become the foundation for how you navigate all forms of adversity. Whether you are facing a difficult situation at work, a personal setback, or a major life transition, The Stoic mindset you've cultivated in dealing with toxic people equips you to handle these challenges with strength and composure. You learn to face adversity not as something to fear, but as an opportunity to grow, learn, and practice virtue. Ultimately, mastering your response to toxic individuals is about reclaiming your power. Toxic behavior loses its hold over you when you no longer react emotionally to it. Instead of being pulled into the chaos, you stand firm in your own sense of peace, guided by reason, virtue, and self-awareness. You recognize that your inner tranquility is yours to protect, and no one has the power to disturb it unless you give them that power. Through Stoicism, you develop a deep sense of inner strength, enabling you to face whatever life brings with grace, wisdom, and unshakable calm. In this way, the wisdom of Stoicism becomes a lifelong practice, one that transforms not only how you deal with toxic individuals, but how you approach life as a whole. You learn to see every challenge, whether from people or circumstances, as an opportunity to deepen your resilience, grow in wisdom, and cultivate a life of virtue. Toxic individuals may still be a part of your life, but their influence diminishes as you master your response, ensuring that your peace, happiness, and growth remain firmly in your hands. Through Stoic practice, you become the author of your own emotional experience, creating a life that is grounded in tranquility, purpose, and unwavering inner strength. As you continue to cultivate the Stoic practice of mastering your response, you reach a deeper understanding of what it truly means to be in control of your life. Toxic individuals may still cross your path, but the way you engage with them and the degree to which they affect your inner state becomes entirely your choice. This is one of the most profound gifts of Stoicism, the realization that you have the power to determine how you experience the world, regardless of external circumstances. By mastering your response, you become the guardian of your inner peace, ensuring that no one else's negativity can disrupt your sense of self, your growth, or your emotional well-being. This mastery of your internal world also leads to a significant reduction in stress and anxiety. Toxic individuals often create emotional turmoil, not just through their behavior, but through the way we internalize and ruminate over their actions. When we react emotionally, we get caught in a cycle of overthinking, replaying negative encounters in our minds, and allowing their behavior to take up valuable mental space. Stoicism breaks this cycle by encouraging a focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and letting go of the rest. By focusing inward, you stop giving toxic individuals the power to dominate your thoughts, allowing you to live with greater ease and mental clarity. The impact of mastering your response doesn't just manifest in your mental and emotional well-being, it also changes the way you approach your goals and ambitions. Toxic individuals, whether intentionally or not, can become obstacles to your progress by undermining your confidence, questioning your decisions, or creating conflict that drains your energy. But when you adopt the Stoic approach, you no longer allow these distractions to pull you off course. You remain focused on your long-term objectives, whether they are personal, professional, or spiritual, knowing that the opinions or behavior of toxic people cannot derail your path unless you let them. This clarity of purpose is a hallmark of the Stoic mindset, allowing you to move through life with a sense of direction that is undisturbed by external negativity. Another critical benefit of mastering your response is that it helps you foster a greater sense of self-awareness. Stoicism teaches that our responses to external events are a reflection of our internal state. By regularly reflecting on how you react to toxic individuals, you begin to see patterns in your behavior that reveal areas where you can grow. Maybe you notice that certain types of comments trigger defensiveness, or that specific people evoke strong emotional reactions in you. This awareness is key because it allows you to identify emotional triggers and work on them, ultimately gaining greater control over your responses. As you develop this self-awareness, you become less reactive and more mindful, not just in dealing with toxic individuals, but in every aspect of your life. Through this practice of self-awareness and reflection, you also become better at managing your expectations of others. One of the reasons toxic people often upset us is that we expect them to behave differently than they do. We may wish for fairness, kindness, or understanding from people who are simply not capable of offering it. Stoicism encourages you to release these unrealistic expectations and accept people as they are. When you stop expecting toxic individuals to behave virtuously or treat you fairly, their actions lose much of their power to hurt you. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of who they are, not a judgment on your worth. This acceptance brings a sense of emotional freedom because you no longer feel disappointed or upset when others fail to meet your expectations. At the same time, mastering your response to toxic individuals helps you cultivate a stronger sense of compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. Toxic people often make us doubt ourselves or feel unworthy, but Stoicism teaches us that our worth is inherent and not dependent on external validation. By treating yourself with compassion and understanding, you strengthen your emotional resilience. You forgive yourself for moments when you may have reacted emotionally or allowed toxic people to get under your skin. This self-compassion is essential for maintaining your mental and emotional health as you navigate the challenges that toxic individuals bring into your life. As you integrate these Stoic practices into your daily life, you begin to notice that your relationships with toxic individuals start to shift. Because you are no longer reacting emotionally or engaging in their drama, the dynamic between you and the toxic person changes. In some cases, the toxic individual may lose interest in trying to provoke you, realizing that their efforts are ineffective. In other cases, they may actually begin to respect your calm demeanor and self-control, leading to more constructive interactions. While Stoicism does not promise that others will change, it does guarantee that you will change the way you experience and handle their behavior, which is often enough to transform the situation. In addition to changing your interactions with toxic individuals, mastering your response strengthens your relationships with people who are supportive, kind, and uplifting. Toxic behavior can sometimes distract us from the positive relationships in our lives, consuming more of our energy than it should. But when you develop emotional resilience through Stoicism, you are able to invest more time and attention in the people who truly matter, those who enrich your life and help you grow. You become more present in these relationships, free from the emotional baggage that toxic people often impose on us. As a result, your connections with others become deeper, more authentic, and more fulfilling. Ultimately, the Stoic practice of mastering your response to toxic individuals is about reclaiming your emotional autonomy. Toxic people no longer control your reactions, moods, or thoughts. You are in charge of how you feel and how you respond, and this gives you a profound sense of freedom. When you master your response, you are no longer a passive recipient of others' behavior. You are an active creator of your own emotional experience. You choose peace over conflict, growth over resentment, and virtue over reaction. This mastery is not just a one-time achievement, but an ongoing practice. Stoicism encourages us to continually reflect, adapt, and improve how we respond to the world around us. Toxic individuals will continue to appear in various forms, but as long as you remain committed to the Stoic path, you will grow stronger with each encounter. Over time, you will find that your ability to remain calm and composed in the face of negativity becomes second nature. Toxic people may still act out, but their behavior no longer disrupts your sense of inner peace or your journey towards self-improvement. In the end, mastering your response to toxic individuals is not about them. It's about you. It's about cultivating the emotional strength, self-discipline, and clarity that allow you to live a life of virtue and peace, regardless of external circumstances. Toxic people may come and go, but your inner state is yours to protect. Through Stoicism, you learn that the true measure of strength is not in changing others, but in maintaining control over yourself. And in doing so, you create a life that is grounded in tranquility, purpose, and unwavering inner resilience. no matter what challenges or toxic individuals come your way. As you continue along the path of mastering your response to toxic individuals, you begin to see the broader implications of this Stoic practice. It is not only about handling difficult people, but about cultivating a mindset that empowers you in every facet of your life. The emotional resilience, clarity, and self-discipline you develop through Stoicism extend far beyond your interactions with toxic individuals. They become essential tools for navigating all of life's inevitable challenges, whether they stem from difficult circumstances, internal struggles, or complex relationships. One of the most profound benefits of mastering your response is the transformation in your internal world. The more you practice Stoic principles, the more you realize that peace and tranquility come from within. Toxic individuals and external situations can no longer dictate your emotional state because you've strengthened your ability to remain centered, regardless of what is happening around you. This inner peace is not dependent on the absence of conflict or difficulty. Rather, it arises from your ability to stay grounded in the midst of external chaos. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. In doing so, we create a source of peace that is impervious to the negativity of others. This practice of emotional resilience fosters a deep sense of confidence. When you know that no toxic individual can sway your emotional state, you approach life with a newfound sense of assurance. You are no longer afraid of difficult people or situations because you know you have the tools to handle them with grace and composure. This confidence extends into every aspect of your life, your work, your relationships, and your personal goals. You stop avoiding challenges or difficult conversations because you trust in your ability to respond in a way that aligns with your values and preserves your inner peace. Moreover, mastering your response to toxic individuals creates a ripple effect in your personal growth. Every time you choose to remain calm in the face of negativity, you reinforce your commitment to personal development and emotional mastery. Toxic individuals, who once may have triggered anger or frustration, now serve as catalysts for your own self-improvement. Each encounter becomes an opportunity to practice patience, self-control, and wisdom, key virtues in Stoicism that elevate your character and strengthen your resolve. Over time, you realize that toxic people no longer have the power to derail your progress because you have transformed their negativity into fuel for your own growth. This shift in mindset also brings a greater sense of freedom. Toxic individuals often try to impose their negativity on others, seeking to control how you feel, react, or think. By mastering your response, you break free from this cycle. You no longer give them control over your emotions or your mental space. This freedom is incredibly empowering because it allows you to live life on your own terms. Toxic behavior no longer limits your choices or influences your path. Instead, you continue moving forward with clarity, pursuing your goals and living according to your values, free from the weight of others' negativity. This sense of freedom also helps you avoid becoming entangled in the emotional traps that toxic individuals often set. Toxic people may try to pull you into arguments, drama, or manipulative situations, but Stoicism teaches you how to disengage from these emotional hooks. When you master your response, you recognize when someone is trying to provoke you, and you choose not to take the bait. Instead, you step back, assess the situation from a place of calm detachment, and decide how, if at all, you want to respond. This ability to disengage from emotional traps is a powerful tool for preserving your peace and avoiding unnecessary conflict. In addition, mastering your response to toxic individuals allows you to become a beacon of calm and stability for those around you. People who encounter your calm, composed demeanor in the face of toxic behavior may be inspired by your example. They might start to question their own reactions to negativity or reconsider how they handle difficult situations. Without even realizing it, you become a role model for emotional resilience and Stoic virtue. Your ability to remain unshaken in the face of toxicity sends a powerful message to others that it is possible to rise above negativity without engaging in conflict or drama. In this way, your personal growth benefits not only you, but also those in your orbit. The more you embody Stoic principles, the more others are drawn to your sense of peace, clarity, and emotional mastery. Your interactions with friends, family, and colleagues become more harmonious because you are no longer reactive. Instead, you approach every interaction with a sense of calm detachment, choosing to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This shift in how you engage with others creates stronger, healthier relationships built on mutual respect and understanding. As your practice deepens, you also develop a greater sense of purpose in how you live your life. Stoicism teaches that our ultimate goal is to live in alignment with our highest virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Toxic individuals, with their negativity and manipulation, often distract us from these virtues by pulling us into short-term emotional conflicts. But as you master your response, you remain focused on your long-term purpose. You no longer allow toxic people to distract you from your goals or compromise your integrity. Instead, you use every challenge as an opportunity to deepen your commitment to living a life of virtue and meaning. This sense of purpose helps you stay true to your values, even when dealing with toxic individuals. You understand that how you respond to others, especially in difficult situations, is a reflection of your character. Stoicism teaches that we should always strive to act in accordance with our values, no matter what others do. Toxic people may try to provoke you into acting out of anger or frustration, but when you master your response, you choose to act with dignity and self-respect. You respond not based on their behavior, but based on your own principles. This consistency in living according to your values strengthens your sense of self and reinforces your commitment to living a virtuous life. Another profound aspect of mastering your response is that it allows you to experience life with greater emotional equilibrium. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes not from external events, but from maintaining a balanced emotional state. Toxic individuals, with their erratic and negative behavior, often create emotional highs and lows for those around them. But when you master your response, you cultivate a steady emotional state that is not swayed by the actions of others. You experience life with a sense of calm and balance, knowing that your happiness and peace are rooted within you, not in the behavior of others. This emotional equilibrium also helps you maintain your health and well-being. Toxic people can be emotionally and physically draining if we allow them to affect us. Stress, anxiety, and frustration often arise from dealing with negativity, and these emotions can take a toll on your mental and physical health. However, by mastering your response, you minimize the impact that toxic individuals have on your health. You no longer carry the emotional weight of their negativity, and this emotional lightness contributes to a greater sense of overall well-being. In the long run, mastering your response to toxic individuals allows you to build a life that is defined by inner peace, purpose, and resilience. Toxic people may still be present in your life, but they no longer have the power to disturb your tranquility. Through Stoicism, you learn that the true source of strength lies not in changing others, but in mastering yourself. You become the architect of your own emotional experience, choosing how to respond to the world around you with wisdom, clarity, and self-discipline. This mastery over your emotions empowers you to live a life of fulfillment and meaning, free from the negativity that once held you back. By continuing to practice these Stoic principles, you create a life that is rooted in virtue, guided by purpose, and protected by an unshakable inner peace. Toxic individuals no longer disrupt your progress because you've built the emotional resilience and clarity to rise above their behavior. You move through life with confidence, knowing that no matter what challenges come your way, you have the tools to respond with grace, composure, and strength. This is the ultimate power of mastering your response. the ability to live with unwavering peace, regardless of the external circumstances or toxic individuals you encounter. As you continue to refine your Stoic practice, the mastery of your response to toxic individuals becomes second nature. This journey of self-mastery not only brings inner peace, but also builds a foundation of lasting strength and resilience that supports you in every aspect of life. Toxic behavior, once a source of stress or frustration, now becomes an opportunity to deepen your understanding of yourself and your emotions. Each encounter with negativity serves as a reminder that your true power lies within. You are not defined by external circumstances, but by how you choose to navigate them. Through this process, you realize that toxic individuals no longer have any real power over you. Their attempts to provoke, manipulate, or undermine you fall short because you are anchored in a deep sense of inner calm and clarity. You've developed the ability to remain unshaken, and this inner stillness becomes your greatest asset. It allows you to focus on your growth, your goals, and your higher purpose without being pulled into unnecessary conflicts or distractions. The journey of mastering your response to toxic individuals is not just about dealing with difficult people, it's about mastering life itself. With each step, you align more closely with the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, creating a life that is guided by reason, purpose, and unwavering inner peace. This is the ultimate gift of Stoicism, the power to face any challenge, including the most toxic people, with grace, strength, and the calm assurance that your peace, happiness, and growth are firmly in your hands. As you continue on this Stoic journey, the benefits of mastering your response to toxic individuals ripple outward, touching every area of your life. What began as a way to handle difficult people becomes a comprehensive philosophy that informs how you live, work, and interact with the world. The emotional resilience, self-discipline, and clarity you cultivate through Stoicism create a firm foundation for navigating all of life's complexities with confidence and calm. When toxic individuals no longer have the power to control your emotions, you experience a profound sense of liberation. No longer are you weighed down by the emotional burdens they attempt to impose. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their own internal struggles, not a judgment on your worth or value. This realization frees you from the cycle of reaction, allowing you to live more mindfully, intentionally, and in alignment with your true self. This mastery of response doesn't just make you stronger in moments of conflict. It also deepens your sense of compassion and understanding. You begin to see that everyone, even toxic individuals, is navigating their own journey and facing their own challenges. By responding with calmness and compassion, you not only protect your inner peace, but also model a way of being that others may find inspiring. Your ability to rise above negativity shows those around you that it is possible to live without being controlled by external events or the behavior of others. Furthermore, mastering your response allows you to create healthier, more meaningful relationships. With toxic people, you now have the tools to establish boundaries and maintain emotional independence. You can engage with them when necessary, but without being drawn into their negativity. At the same time, your capacity to invest more energy in positive, supportive relationships grows. With fewer emotional distractions, you are able to nurture the connections that truly matter, deepening your bonds with people who uplift and support you. In addition, this newfound emotional control enhances your ability to pursue your goals and ambitions with unwavering focus. Toxic individuals and their attempts to undermine you no longer divert your energy or attention. Instead, you are free to direct your efforts toward your personal and professional aspirations, knowing that external negativity cannot derail your progress. This level of focus, combined with the emotional resilience you've built, propels you forward with a sense of purpose and determination that is unshaken by the actions of others. The ultimate reward of mastering your response to toxic individuals is a life lived with greater freedom, peace, and self-assurance. You realize that, while you cannot change the behavior of others, you have complete control over how you experience the world. You choose how to respond, how to act, and how to feel in any given situation. This realization that your happiness and peace of mind are entirely within your control leads to a profound sense of empowerment. At the heart of this journey is the Stoic belief that true strength comes from within. No matter what life throws at you, whether it's the actions of a toxic person or an unexpected hardship, you have the tools to remain steady, calm, and resilient. You are no longer reactive, but proactive, shaping your life according to your own values and virtues. Toxic individuals may still exist, but their influence on your life fades as your inner strength continues to grow. In the end, mastering your response to toxic individuals becomes a powerful testament to the strength of the Stoic mind. Through this practice, you learn that the true battle is not against others, but against the impulses within ourselves that lead to emotional reactions, frustration, and suffering. By mastering your response, you win this internal battle, gaining a level of self-control and emotional resilience that makes you impervious to the toxic behavior of others. This internal mastery allows you to rise above negativity and live in a state of peace that cannot be shaken by external events. One of the most empowering realizations that comes from this journey is that toxic individuals no longer define your emotional landscape. Their behavior, once a source of frustration or pain, becomes something you observe without being affected by it. You no longer take their words or actions personally because you understand that their toxicity is a reflection of their own unresolved issues, not a reflection of you. This detachment allows you to approach every interaction with clarity and calm, free from the emotional entanglements that once held you back. As you continue to practice Stoicism, this mastery over your responses becomes a part of who you are. Toxic situations that once might have provoked anger, frustration, or anxiety now barely register as disruptions. You handle them with grace, knowing that your peace of mind is too valuable to be influenced by others' negativity. Each time you choose to respond with calmness and reason, you reinforce this sense of control over your own life, and over time, it becomes effortless. Moreover, this inner peace that you cultivate extends to all areas of your life, allowing you to live with greater intentionality and purpose. You are no longer constantly reacting to external stimuli. Instead, you are creating the conditions for your own happiness and fulfillment. Toxic individuals may still come into your life, but they no longer have the power to disrupt your progress or dictate how you feel. You become the architect of your emotional world, designing it with resilience, tranquility, and unwavering strength. This newfound mastery over your responses also strengthens your sense of self-worth. Toxic people often seek to erode others' confidence by belittling them, criticizing them, or manipulating their emotions. But as you master your response, you realize that their opinions are irrelevant. Your value comes from within, rooted in how you live according to your own values and virtues, not in the judgments of others. This deep sense of self-worth fortifies you against any attempts by toxic individuals to make you doubt yourself. You know who you are, and you know that their negativity has no bearing on your intrinsic value. As this process unfolds, you also come to appreciate the wisdom and patience that Stoicism instills in you. Dealing with toxic people no longer feels like a struggle or a burden. Instead, it becomes an opportunity to practice the Stoic virtues of patience, resilience, and wisdom. You start to see each encounter with negativity as a chance to sharpen your emotional control and deepen your inner peace. In this way, even the most difficult situations serve your growth and development. Ultimately, mastering your response to toxic individuals is about embracing your power over your own mind. Toxic people no longer have the ability to push you into emotional reactions because you have cultivated a mindset of resilience, self-discipline, and inner calm. You face every challenge with clarity and grace, knowing that your peace is unshakable and your happiness is not dependent on the behavior of others. This mastery is the essence of Stoic strength, and it allows you to live a life of true freedom, free from the influence of negativity and firmly in control of your own emotional experience. In conclusion, the Stoic practice of mastering your response to toxic individuals transforms not only how you interact with others, but how you experience life itself. By cultivating emotional resilience, detachment, and self-control, you become immune to the toxic behavior that once caused you stress and turmoil. You live with greater peace, purpose, and freedom, knowing that your happiness is firmly in your hands. This mastery over your responses is not just a tool for handling toxic individuals, it is the key to living a life of virtue, wisdom, and unshakable inner tranquility. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use some Stoic strategies in their life.